Hello, welcome back everyone. Now this video is something of a part 2 to my video on Pearl, sort of, though it can be watched independently of that, but it's in a similar theme. So initially it was all going to be one video, and you'll see why as I kind of get into it. But, I realised I had too much to say and that I had some separate criticisms of this individual that were slightly different to Pearl, and also deserving of its own topic. So the reason this was going to be included under the same umbrella is because in both Pearl's case and this girl's case, what finally prompted me to the point of public criticism was their responses to everything that's going down with Andrew Tate. Though it's worth pointing out that I have serious criticisms of them that extend far beyond Randy Andy. But it's just that their response to him just highlighted the issues that I had. Again, this video is less jokey than some of my earlier ones. Despite my irritation, I could find a lot of humour and fun to be had in my videos on like Rolo and Vorsh. But with Pearl and now with this girl, I'm less amused and kind of out of patience, and thus not so interested in being entertaining. I say that, I'll probably find a few things to take the piss out of, but I'm actually really angry about it. I'm really angry. So yeah, I also think this may finally be it. I said I wanted to talk about the red pill stuff until I had no more to say, and at that point I felt I still had many more things to say at the time I said that. But now I hope that this may be my last video on the topic, at least in this highly critical format. So I can feel a yearning to move on to more positive things. That's definitely not to say that I regret or renounce anything. I stand by what I've always said. Criticism is essential, and I think whoever said if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, is an ineffective soggy banana. I don't agree with that kind of motto. However, I am tired now of this particular cesspool of depression. I'd still like to talk about some of the same stuff, don't get me wrong, like femininity and stuff like that, but from a more creative and joyful angle. I say that, though we'll see where the river takes me. I perhaps I still have a critique of Fresh and Fit left in me at some point in the future. We'll see. There are so many jokes to be made about them. I mean, I've written half of it in my head. What do the muses have in store for me? Only the gods can know. But what I do know is that I'm tired. I'm tired now of being angry. Perhaps this little YouTube journey of mine has been an attempt to purge that anger, and I do feel it winding down now. I think it's working. That's good. I think I want it to be enough now. I hope so anyway. I am tired of this, and I want to be motivated by lighter things again. Joyful motivations last longer and don't burn out so quickly as angry ones, I find, and they're easier on the soul. That said, I'm not renouncing criticism. I still stand by that. It's important, it's necessary, it's essential. All of that being said, about potentially moving on, I feel I have one last thing to get off my chest before I can allow myself to lay down my arms. So let's see if this will finally bring my mind some peace and be the last thing I need to say so I can let it all go and move on. I mean, that's not to say I expect this to have any real effect, I kind of doubt that, but at least once it's said, I will feel better. Self-indulgent? Maybe, but it's my channel, so I do what I want. So I've been talking about anger. What is this anger? Why am I angry? What is this anger at, you may ask? Well, so at the representation, or rather the misrepresentation and degradation of femininity and by extension of women, initially coming from the left, to be like a man is the only way to be strong, women give up your womanhood if you want to be taken seriously, and then a counter from the right, which I soon realised seemed to hold the same disdainful opinion of women and femininity, only in their view, rather than being seen as something women should revolt against and reject, as the left might argue. To them, they took for granted that women are by their nature weak and silly, though in their view, this is something women should embrace as their part in the natural order of things, secondary creations operating at the mental level of monkeys, incapable of rational thought because, ovaries, and that we should grovel at the feet of men in overwhelming gratitude that they grudgingly share their world with us, undeserving, wicked, cold-blooded snakes as we are. And as payment for our general uselessness beyond the apparently pointless task of creating the next generation of human beings, we should happily and mindlessly make ourselves totally obedient and completely at their disposal, and accept that our place is not truly as individual beings in our own right, but as secondary, as creatures created to accessorize a man's life, as shiny rewards for his achievements and to make his life more pleasant, expected to merely exist and obey, but never truly as autonomous persons in our own right. We're not people, you see. We're coins you can collect in a video game as payment for becoming powerful. That's all we're here for, waiting to get gathered up and bent to your will like dolls with wombs, with no trajectory or ambitions or dreams of our own in life other than to follow you and assist in yours. The spoils of the winners, with no say of our own, led solely as we are by hormones and an inability to think. Don't you dare tell me that that attitude doesn't exist. I'm not saying it's all red pillars. I'm not saying that at all. I know. I'm not saying that any more than I think that all feminists are man-haters, okay? But that attitude is there, and it is not insignificant. You see what you're doing to me, you red pill fucks. You're making me sound like a radical feminist. This brings us quite nicely to the topic of today's video. I would like to introduce you to one of the greatest offenders in pushing the latter attitude, whether intentionally or not. And we have a first for you today, ladies and gentlemen. We're taking a look at a fellow Englishwoman and proud advocate of not using her own brain, Layah, also known as Andrew Tate's one-woman PR department.
Gentlemanly, been very nice, been very courteous. Personally, again, from my experience, cannot imagine that he would be capable of rape and human trafficking. These are obviously the charges. And it doesn't seem to be in his nature, and the charges seem to be very much out of character.
It warms the cockles of my cold, dead English heart. To give a brief overview, Layah previously seems to have been some sort of journalist with an expertise in cryptocurrency, and she also frequently interviewed a variety of very interesting guests. However, her channel really blew up when she interviewed Andrew Tate back a few months ago when he was, kicking off. And because that worked for her, she apparently then decided to abandon her inquisitive nature and promising potential and make her whole channel an Andrew Tate fan channel to a degree that is so embarrassing. I don't know how she can continue to look at herself in the mirror every morning. But then, some people have no shame.
We've met in London, in Romania, we've done an interview in Miami.
If you boys ever wondered if girls can simp, just hop on over to Layah's channel for a clear demonstration to the affirmative. But who am I to knock it? Because it worked for her. She became very successful very quickly by making her unquestioning devotion to Randy Andy very clear. Her adoration so intense, I am honestly surprised she didn't get his face tattooed across her forehead, though who knows, there's still time. I'm getting woman who writes love letters to nutters in prison vibes. So Layah has been running cover for Andrew Tate for a very long time now, and it's all because they're such great friends, and she's furious at such an unfair miscarriage of justice that casts him in an unsavoury light. On an unrelated note, an interesting phenomena of Layah's channel is that every video she does in support of Tate does astronomically well compared to most of her other videos, but calling her a one-trick pony whose career is reliant on her uncritical support of him would be a dreadfully cynical accusation, and I like to see the best in people. You know me. Finding a formula that works and then sticking to it no matter what is something that never happens on YouTube, and I believe Layah to be above such ulterior motives. Numbers like these are what true loyalty looks like. So when she's taking time off from being Andrew Tate's personal PR woman, something else Layah likes to do as a fun little side gig is talk a lot about, femininity and the place of women and, what that means and stuff. And I would just like to say, and make it very clear before we get into this, that nothing at all about what she has to say comes across as out of touch, pampered, or ignorant. No. Clearly this is a very grounded and sensible young lady, awake to the truth of life's hardships for most ordinary women. She's also got a really interesting analysis and reevaluation of women's history. It's fascinating stuff. So, I know you thought that history was humanity's story of collective contributions with men and women as partners, often with different purposes, yet both equally important in creating and maintaining society and human life, each striving and suffering and supporting the other to survive. The archetypal sacrifice in my mind being war for men and childbirth for women, each with their own dangers dangers and pains and necessary courage that is unavoidable in a human life, no matter which sex you were born as. Yes, that is what we'd call the wrong view of history. I mean, gosh, how terribly embarrassing for you. No. That is a common misconception bought into by followers of the gynocentric world order, you retarded pleb. But the reality about men and women is far simpler, and it speaks to a greater truth about the unworthiness and uselessness of women, and why we should be grateful we're even tolerated in the world, because the harsh #red pill truth is that men strive and suffer and support society, while women stay at home, relaxing.
Men go out every day. They sacrifice spending time with their children. They sacrifice living a peaceful, relaxing life so that they can go out and provide for their family, so their wife can stay home and relax. Women, they're resenting men for wanting to provide for the family. It's truly unbelievable, and women are trying to compete with men, and it's so unnecessary.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's stuff like this that takes the red pill for me from something that's like, oh, here's some general unfortunate truths or uncomfortable truths about men and women. Here's how best to succeed in dating. Here's biological reality, blah, blah, blah. Goes from that to women have it easy and they're totally useless propaganda. With this narrative that women float about in a cloud of privilege. And so to pay for our crime of being born into this life of ease, our penance should be obedience. And that all of us, regardless of personality, talent or ambition, should not aim above our place in the world and be so arrogant to think that we could find fulfillment outside of the home.
Being a boss bitch is gonna make you happy. It's not true. A boss bitch is not gonna make you happy. And what will make a woman happy is having a family, serving her husband, raising the next generation, and that's beautiful. And I don't understand why this is something which society has to reject.
After all, you know, as Layah presents, being a stay-at-home mother, it's very easy. It's perfectly suited to the weak, feeble, easily overstimulated female temperament, and it involves absolutely no work or chores.
So their wife can stay home and relax.
I have heard mothers say that. Yes, you know, I think that is actually the number one thing that mothers say. Gosh, since I had children, my life just became so much more relaxing. There was just more me time. I'm so happy that men do literally all of the work in society and make it possible for me to play Dolly Tea Party with my children all day.
Women are delicate, women are emotional, women need help, whether it's emotional support, whether it's physical support, you know, we need attention, and all of these things, I agree with him. He said that women are difficult to travel with, and I understand that. You know, we get hungry, and if we're not fed, we get hangry. So I understand when he says women are children.
I'm going to say this one time. Wives are not children. And you red pill guys can't complain about women not being responsible or accountable and how all of the pressure is on men, and then also turn around and advocate for wives being infantilized and treated like children and being stripped of all responsibility. That is an inconsistent worldview, and it is also incorrect. Raising children is not sitting at home playing with fucking crayons. I don't think half of you parroting that idea actually have kids. It is bloody hard, and it is a massive responsibility with so much pressure, and if you do a shit job, a whole entire person suffers, and then by extension society, and that is on you. So as for what Layah said there, look, there is nothing wrong with valuing men or what men do for society. In fact, that is a good thing, and we should do that. This is where I agree with red pill stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm on board with this. Cool. We should be placing a higher value on men's role. Absolutely. I agree with you there. Men are important and shouldn't be devalued. But this? There were a few traditional women in the comments of this video that I saw, stay-at-home mothers, who thought it was damn cheeky for a young unmarried lass who was not a mother to describe their lives as at home relaxing while their husband does everything that's actually important. You think a traditional wife stays at home and relaxes, Layah? Looking after young children and running a household and cooking and cleaning and maybe caring for other relatives who can't care for themselves? Relaxing? I hope you've got a multi-millionaire lined up, love, and you can afford to hire a cleaner, a cook and a babysitter when you have a family of your own, because I'll tell you now, that is not traditional women. That sounds like it's just you told on yourself. She's a mainstream red pill advocate for traditional women, and she's totally ignorant about what that means. Being a stay-at-home mother also, by the way, unlike a 9-to-5 job, it doesn't stop. No, but it's just relaxing. The fact that it's at home doesn't mean it's relaxing and it's not work. All that means is that it's all the time that you're doing it. That's what that means if it's in your home. That's... Jesus. So I brought this up. I thought she'd be a good person to bring this up to. I asked my mother about this, and she's a good person to ask because she's done both. She's done the very high-powered business thing and the raising children thing. And in her view, the raising 4 children thing was less relaxing by quite a long way than the running her own business thing. She laughed in my face, Layah, when I asked her that question, and said she used to go into work to have a rest. My dad says the same thing. I mean, to be fair, maybe me and my siblings were just terrible. That is possible. We once scared off a deeply religious babysitter because she thought we were possessed. That is genuinely true. She told us God would punish us with eternal damnation, and then started crying when my sister danced in front of her chanting, "I'm going to hell, I'm going to hell." I'm not sure how relaxing it was. We probably gave the poor lass a nervous breakdown. She probably had to go and get an exorcism after that. Anyway, look, I just hate this attitude that women don't do anything but chill and get their hair done while men are slaving away in fucking Mordor. It's so insulting. And it's also ridiculous, the disconnection from reality, my God. Also, the thing with this, like what Layah said, that just really bothers me. It really rubs me the wrong way. Look, and she's English as well. Layah, most mothers in the UK work. Most. I've heard one figure put it at over 70%. I don't want to misremember that. I feel like there was the Office of National Statistics or something, and it was over 75%. So it's like actually really high. So, and most do it not because they're selfish career women, but because it's an economic necessity. I mean, my mum's always worked, and she's done it partly because she's highly creative and highly ambitious, and you know she loves doing that. She loves working in business, but also it's an economic necessity with 4 children. They wouldn't have been able to do it with just my dad working. So women are doing that. They are raising children and running a household, and they are working, and they're trying to juggle that. And also women still bear most of the burden for keeping house and childcare and caring for elderly relatives, by the way. But they're doing stuff. They're doing stuff is my point. Mothers are doing stuff. Mothers are stressed, and they're busy, and they're working all the time, and they're juggling shit. And then you come along, Layah, and imply that most women are living the high life while men are doing all the work, and that these modern women don't appreciate it and don't care about men, and but like it's more. This is the thing with the red pill. Like they're right on some of the problems with like gender dynamics, and they're probably even right that men should be appreciated more. But part of it isn't just that women hate men and women are like I think probably deeper societal issues, as in maybe a lot of women don't feel like they have time to be appreciative, and it's just yeah, again, oversimplified rubbish. And it's just more complicated than either men are evil and lazy and entitled, or women are evil and lazy and entitled. I think there's deeper kind of stuff to figure out, and it's just not helping anything. So oversimplifying everything and just being like, oh, women don't care about men. Like, that's not the reality. And you, by the way, you do the women that you claim to support a disservice when you say things like that. I just want you to know.
So their wife can stay home and relax.
Hi, I'll just add, because I'm not sure how well I was phrasing that, but my point is, what irritates me about that video of Layah's is that describing women wanting to compete with men and that it's so unnecessary. That's kind of what got to me. That, like, I mean, actually it is necessary for a lot of people. I don't understand. Why are these women so silly going out getting jobs? All these women going out and getting jobs and earning money. How silly. Don't they know they could be at home relaxing? Like, I mean, maybe that was just caught Layah on a bad day there, but like, could it be any more embarrassingly out of touch? I'm sorry. Come on, this just sounds ridiculous. It's like modern day Marie Antoinette, Layah. I don't know how she even got it, because I've come across loads of her stuff and I've heard her talk in the past. I don't even think she is from like a well-off background necessarily. I don't know, maybe she is, but from what she said, I don't think she is. So I don't understand how she got here. I went to school with rich kids. I went to school with loads of rich kids, and none of them had, hardly any of them had this attitude. I don't know how she's ended up with this. This is insane. It's the attitude of, oh, these silly women, don't they know that if they just didn't work, they could be at home relaxing? like, what are you talking? Like, this is the, it's like, even first of all, maybe I'm sure a lot of women would love to do that if they could afford to. The overall narrative that she's helping push, that women are just like out here boss bitching everywhere, not caring about men. It's like, okay, that's such an oversimplification, and it's so stupid, and it's so like it does such a disservice to the actual problems and like solving issues between men and women. Like, it's just, I just hate it. This just comes across as very out of touch and pampered, and dare I say spoiled. And it is not doing anything to remove the stigma of being a stay-at-home mother.
A lot of TV shows portray the feminine girl as weak and pathetic. And so I never wanted to be the feminine girl as a kid. Like, I was obsessed with wrestling, I've got brothers, so, I was always like that. But the girl that wears pink and she wears glitter, she's always like falling over and the guys don't like her and she's really stupid and she's not cool, The girl that's celebrated in the movies is the tomboy. They love her, the one that's playing football, she's one of the lads. And so naturally you start to become that.
You want to know why being a traditional woman is sneered at? This misrepresentation of it.
So their wife can stay home and relax.
Stuff like this shit. You're part of the problem. You are an insult to actual traditional women. You are making a mockery out of them. And then you turn around and wonder why women are embarrassed to be traditionally feminine. We'll have to get Sherlock on the case because this is a fucking mystery, Layah. Relaxing at home. Christ almighty. This is just a virtue signal at men. Can I just say, by the way, this is absolutely virtue signalling, but for red pillars. 100%. I don't know how this isn't super transparent. It's not even remotely subtle. If you're going to make a play at stroking the male ego, be more intelligent about it, please. Then I could at least respect the art form, even if I took issue with the method. I say that, this is working. Boys, you're making me lose faith in you. It's working. It's so easy. Stop being easy. Can I just say, and other people have pointed this out in my comments, but the irony is that so many red pill dudes are the biggest simps. It is so funny. With them, you just have to tell them what they want to hear and they go fucking nuts. Just look at her comment section. So you guys, I understand that the true place of a woman is to be submissive and obedient. That's all I'm looking for. Yes, technically I do have a high-flying career right now, but if I tell you that all I do is stay at home and cook and that it's really easy, will you believe me? Life is so hard for you, and I hope you know I really appreciate that you keep me in handbags while I fulfill your every whim. All these crazy feminists don't know their place, but I know my place, and it's beneath you. In more ways than one. You know what? This will make me lose faith in men's intelligence more than any feminist argument, seriously. Stop. And you want me to believe that you guys are always logical, okay. Sorry, but all that needs to happen is a pretty face comes along and tells you what you want to hear, and I mean, I'm not saying that's men over, look, human beings are like that, but just then you act like women are the ones who like fall for stuff or can be propagandized more easily or whatever, and I'm sorry, but no, you're not, it's not true, you're not demonstrating that. I lose a simp every time I criticise the red pill, it's fucking tragic. No, just kidding. This channel doesn't have simps, okay? This channel has fellow intellectuals. If anyone accuses you of being a simp here, you spit in their face and you say, no, I am a man of culture with an appreciation for stockings. We are veterans of the Battle of the Woodshed and we denounce the simps. We celebrate every time we lose a simp, we cheer and say bye. Our troops have sustained great losses, but we shall go on till the end. We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender. Cheeky bit of Churchill. Sexy slice of Winston for you there. Bet he wasn't a simp. I'm sorry, that went off the rails. What was I saying? Shameless pandering to men. Yeah. See, I pander to men with war quotes. Top tier pandering, Layah. Top tier pandering. Tapping into that 12-year-old boy part of the male brain. See what I did there? Bet you boys like battle, don't you? Bet you do. Bet you like swords and guns. Oh, and superheroes and explosions and action man. So cool. Like Andrew Tate's war room. Oh, so manly. It's not a marketing trick or anything. Because men can't be manipulated. We do know that. Only women are susceptible to mindfuckery. Source: Andrew Tate said so, because men fight more and thus are more capable of independent thought.
I said this in another podcast. I believe that men are more capable of independent thought because I believe that men are more evolved for battle and war. So if we had an idea which nobody else agreed with, we're more capable of defending it.
Obviously, you can make that obvious connection, because I just think, yes, the army, a well-known breeding ground for free-thinking individuals where it's definitely not an advantage to be able to follow orders and act as a unit. No, I hear that disobedience, self-expression, and questioning authority are really valued in the army. Oh, one ironclad argument. He's so clever. Oh, Andrew, you're so clever. Andrew, oh my God, Tate, you're so fucking smart. So attractive. And that's why, from an evolutionary perspective, men are just smarter and more able to resist mind control. And that's Tate science. It's Tate science. It's like real science, except he made it all up. Can I just say, on top of that, surely then, logically, that follows that the stronger a man is, the more capable of independent thought he would be. That's not true at all. I mean, there's a reason why people say brains or brawn. I'm not saying every big guy's an idiot. I'm not saying that at all. But it's definitely not true that the stronger you are or the more capable you are of defending yourself, the more independently you think. That is actually hilarious. That's not true in any way. Oh my God. That's so funny. Sorry, I got distracted again. Where was I? Oh yes, pandering to men, which Andrew Tate, for one, has definitely never done for personal gain, ever. Ever. No. Layah doesn't do it either. And I do it, but I only do it with war, so it's okay. So here we go. Here's the thing. Here's this topic here. And I feel like I have to go into this topic. I greatly dislike the term pick me because I think it's unfairly levelled at girls who are more feminine or more traditional, or who recognise sex differences, or who are sympathetic to men's issues, or who just disagree with some of the narratives. I've been called a pick me and also told I want to be sexually harassed. Woo! Which is obviously true. So I don't like the term, but it would be foolish to pretend that in some instances sexual competition doesn't play a part in female behaviour. And the more I see of red pill women, the more I can see why people accuse you guys of this. Just to be honest.
I get called a pick-me girl a lot. I don't really care. I'm not. I don't really need to be. I saw yesterday Myron on Fresh and Fit talking about being a pick-me. He made a really interesting point. He was like, yeah, women should be pick-me's. And I was like, damn, yeah, you're right, because there's just not enough men. Right. So you should be a pick-me. If you're a young girl and you want to fight and you want to secure yourself a high-value man, be a pick-me. Show him that you are here, you are ready, and you like him, and get on with it.
So this was going to be a part that I included in the Pearl video on the section on female competition, disguised as concern for men. Which is also why that video on Pearl is called Red Pill Women Are Trashy and Childish, because initially there were going to be more Red Pill women I was talking about, but she's got her own separate video now, so anyway. But yeah, this is going to be in that part. Female competition disguised as concern for men. But obviously this is a separate video. But my main point still stands. I'm sorry, but so much of this behaviour just seems to be a performance to show themselves off in comparison to other women and present themselves as the better option, or shamelessly pander to men in a really virtue-signaling cringy way like she did earlier. Look, yeah, just a performance to show themselves off in comparison to other women and present themselves as the better option. And yes, that is a different thing than being sympathetic to what men want, okay? Yeah, it seems to be less about the truth or good content and more about look at me, look at my femininity and desirability in comparison to these modern women. And I find it incredibly transparent and just a bit childish and insecure. I mean, they even say that's what they're doing.
Women are so competitive. That's also something that I noticed. I didn't know that women were competitive like this. So I'm seeing all these women, we're all between the ages of 20 to 30, and everybody's going after the same man. Yeah, it's so competitive. You need to up your game, you need to look hotter, you need to hit the gym, you need to be all these sorts of things. So I think you should be a pick-me if you're trying to secure a good man.
Okay, let's talk about terms, because I've seen a lot of red pill women embracing the term pick me, oh yeah, but that's right, I'm a pick me because I want to get picked. What's wrong with that? Okay, look. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I just like the phrasing, it's kind of cringy, but whatever. There's nothing wrong with that, in theory. But being a pick-me doesn't mean that you want to make yourself appealing to men. That's not what it means. Some people use it to mean that, but that's not what it means or what it should mean. A pick-me means you tear down other women to present yourself as the better option. Being a pick-me is not healthy competition based on your own merit. It's guerrilla warfare based on how effectively you can sabotage your opponents. This is what this means, okay? So it has nothing to do with your own good qualities and femininity, and everything to do with making clear all of the reasons why all of the other girls shouldn't be picked. Right? So it's equal to a political race where you contrast yourself with how flawed your opponent is and try to discredit them, as opposed to a sports competition where it's based solely on how well you perform and the best woman wins. That's those two differences. So do I think competition or wanting to present yourself as like, yeah, I want to appeal to men. Do I think that's inherently wrong? No, I don't. But I would like to make that distinction. Pick me refers to, it's about underhand sabotaging the opponents, tearing down the opponents as a strategy, rather than just focusing on yourself, on your own merits and your own benefits in general terms. Like, that's what that means. And also, people say, look, that doesn't mean that every time you criticize another woman, that's what you're doing. Because people then use that unfairly and out of line when that's not what I'm saying. And I think I use it more specifically when people are generalizing about groups of women, like about women, or doing it in general. Seems to be more likely that's what they're doing, as opposed to criticizing individuals, because that's you can criticize individuals, but so this video Layah's just said, so women are ultra competitive. Yeah, okay. So can women be ultra competitive? Of course. Every woman knows how vicious and competitive and brutally unmerciful girls can be. That's not a shock. I don't know why you found it a shock, Layah. But is that what we are? Is that how we should view each other, as competition first and companions second? There's an emerging attitude in red pill spaces that women don't know loyalty and can't truly be friends. It's insidious. In the same way that men are capable of killing each other and also of deep, unbreakable loyalty, dipshits. The same is true for women. Sometimes it's brutal and cutthroat, and sometimes it's selfless and self-sacrificing. What I really don't like is that phrase, don't try to understand women. Women understand women and they fucking hate each other, or whatever that is. I understand there's like a level of truth to that. No, I would say that's not true at all. It's not that women dislike other women. It's that women understand other women. And some women don't like other women, but I think most women do like other women. But I think where that phrase comes from is that also women are good at reading other women better than men are. So it's not that they just dislike a girl for no reason. Some women do, because it's jealousy, or that's true. Or it could just be, I know what she's like. Yeah. Anyway, so but does that mean that like women can never be friends? And no, of course not. Like, it's really deeply irritating. I understand women very well. I've got sisters. I've got loads of female friends. I'm a girl's girl. I love hanging out with other women. Yeah. And I really like women. Not all women. Some women I don't like, obviously. Some men I don't like. But I like women in general, yeah. There are female friendships that I've had for years that I value so highly. And of course, human instincts are unavoidable, and sometimes there will be that undercurrent between women, of course. But promoting a hyper-competitiveness as something we should do to get chosen, I really dislike that. Female friendships can be such a wonderful, powerful thing with really strong loyalties, lifelong loyalties. And I just think this attitude degrades that and makes it seem like an underhand bitchiness or sabotage or always pushing yourself forward as better than them is acceptable, as long as it's towards the purpose of nailing down a good man. And that's a shame. Yeah, like some groups of women are like this, I agree, because some people are shitty, but others aren't. And you don't have to go into the world with this dog-eat-dog mentality. And here, look, here's the other thing as well. I think that most women can very clearly sense if another woman views us as a competitor. Women know that. We know if we meet another woman and we're like, oh, okay, we know what the game, we know it. If we meet another woman and she views us as a competitor. We even have a word for it. That's called a frenemy, and it's an unhealthy female dynamic. It's also one that we should grow out of, right? I haven't had a frenemy probably since I was about 19. I don't hang out with girls who treat me as competition over treating me like a friend. I can't be bothered with bitching, it's a waste of time. And anyone who's not a teenager anymore should also be over it, I think, really. Like, my friends are all bloody lovely. They wouldn't be my friends otherwise. And it's remarkable we've been friends since we were, like, the group of girls I'm thinking of, like, friends since we were, like, 13. And even through all our teenage years, of all the hormones and the boys and everything, remarkably few arguments. Like, really remarkably, like, lack of bitchiness. Just, like, honestly just, and we lived together as well for a good few years of that time, like really like high tension, and I'm with like my best friend. I can think of one time in over a decade, way over a decade, that we argued or were like pissed off at each other, and it's just not always the case, you know. And that was when we were like 15. We had an argument, and it was over something really stupid, and then we were over it in a few days. Like, like, look, there's nothing wrong with wanting to better yourself or in making yourself appealing to men. There's not. But I do think there's something wrong in pitting yourself against all of these other women with a win-win-win. They are my competition, and I am the best, and it's fine to prove myself the best, no matter what, to secure a good man. Like, yeah, I don't think that's a behaviour to be praised. I'm sorry. This is a massive problem I have with the red pill that I've mentioned several times. It's like they reduce people to their most base animal instincts and ignore that that is not the whole of a human being. And they also justify being able to behave badly. This is what red pill does, and they do this. They justify being able to behave badly if it gives you a competitive advantage in the dating market. And they see every human interaction as having a winner and a loser, and everyone's obsessed with how much status everyone else has, and it's a little bit gross and materialistic, and also feels like we're back at school. This isn't the fucking wild. Can we just chill out a bit and stop playing wolves, right? We're human beings. We're a little more complex than that. Oh, I had a really funny conversation with my friends, and he was like, it's star signs, isn't it? It's star signs for men. Star signs for men, all this alpha omega male. But here's the thing, yes, we have a lower nature, but we also have a higher nature. And I think the red pill school of thought underestimates the power of loyalty or compassion or morality or, goddammit, love. It does. It constantly underestimates those things. And, you know, if you want to talk about the matrix and what keeps people imprisoned, it's the lower instincts that keep people enslaved, not the higher ones. The red pill movement is currently offering the poison as the antidote. Like, I said it before and I'll say it again. I think a lot of this is just brutal female competition. They themselves are telling you it is. How do I get picked? I mean, I hate that phrase, how do I get picked? It makes my neck retract into my body like a turtle. Stop it, it's embarrassing. How do I get, stop. I'm a pick me, how do I get picked? Stop it now, have dignity. Look, and unfortunately, that how do I get picked, in some cases that involves crippling the competition and shameless pandering to men. Nothing wrong with healthy competition. With that, I said, like a sports competition and may the best woman win, that kind of thing. But, women probably are more prone to political race of, sabotage. But that doesn't mean it's a good thing, okay? Like, and the pandering to men. Stop it. It's embarrassing. It makes me, it's yucky. It's really gross. I do think a fair comparison can be made between some of these girls and then the male feminists who have this self-flagellation attitude of, men are terrible, we're the worst, it must be so hard for you having to deal with men, I hate men, what do you want to hear, I'll tell you what you want, just please get into bed with me. Like, the women are kind of doing that, except they're doing it for a ring. Rather than sex. I mean, look, I find a lot of it really distasteful. Like lowering women's role right down or describing it as relaxing to blatantly appeal to a male audience for the purpose of making themselves more attractive, as they themselves have said, and it is just pandering. I think it's disrespectful to pander to people. Okay, I do. I think it's slimy and dishonest. If you respect someone, you don't grovel or pander to them. You give them honesty. And I don't find this respectful of either men or women. I think it's a self-serving instinct. Interestingly, this was this morning, and it really aligns with what I've just said there. Scrolling on the social media things this morning, and they came across a quote by Thomas Sowell, and it's one of those like quotes with like picture of him with the quote over the top. And I say this, I haven't checked this out, I just saw this morning by chance, and I'm going to probably say it, and now it's going to be like, actually that he didn't say that, and it was like a quote from High School Musical or something. Also, like Jake Paul once said. So maybe it's not, but it seemed appropriate. But this was in the picture quote. I haven't checked this, but it was Thomas Sowell apparently said, if you want to help others, you tell them the truth. If you want to help yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. It was something like that. I can't remember exactly. Something like that. If you want to help others, you tell them the truth. If you want to help yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. And that, I mean, actually, weird coincidence, because yeah, that's basically kind of what I was trying to express. Pandering is just gross, but it's It's gross. Just stop it. I really want a movement around femininity that's about the value in femininity, that's about bettering women and helping women to better themselves, and not just hitching onto the red pill and the manosphere and viewing all other women as competition and telling men what we think they want to hear just so we can get ahead in the dating world. We don't need to make women look bad in order to let men know that we value them. Okay? That's what the worst male feminist does, and it's gross and dishonest, and none of us should be engaging in it. We are better than that, girls. Can we just all, and boys, can we please all just stop crawling around each other and just treat each other decently and respectfully and truthfully without crawling up anyone's backside? I think we need a separate movement around femininity that's separate to the red pill and the manosphere. That's not, I don't think we should be hitching onto that. I think a lot of the men actually would probably agree with that, even the ones who are like in that world. And I'd like to be talking about more of that stuff in the future. But anyway, leave that aside for now. But also, that doesn't mean don't criticize or mock, right? I'm not saying to be nice. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying don't criticize or mock. I would never say that. I'm a critic, right? Mockery can also be appropriate sometimes. We can criticize women, and we can criticize men, and we can criticize individuals, and we can criticize cultural trends, but this collective thing of degrading either sex as a whole, this is what I'm talking about, it's so shameful and disgusting, especially when it seems suspiciously like there's a self-serving motive there. So the wider point I'm making, I just kind of like to really emphasize what it is exactly that I'm kind of trying to say. So is there anything wrong with being a pick me in the sense of wanting to present yourself well to men and to be attractive to men and to be feminine? Is there anything inherently wrong with that? No, there's not. Is there anything wrong with going out and seeing like pretty much like loads of other women as your competition? Depends how you're doing it. I'd say there can potentially be problems there. Okay, but all of that to the side. But do we come to problems if you are a cultural commentator, if you're an online figure, like admitting to saying how you want to present yourself as the best possible version above all other women, which isn't in itself a bad thing. If you like mainstream cultural voice, if you're mainly talking about gender dynamics, do we think that there could be a conflict of interest there in terms of wanting to tell the truth and get like really delve into these, and you know what I mean, and then just wanting to present yourself well? Is there a conflict of interest there, and how much are you allowing that? So is there anything wrong with going, hey, I'm a pick-me, I want men to know I value them? Okay, no, not really anything wrong with that, depending on how you do it. But is there anything wrong with that if your job is commentating online and you're not holding yourself accountable all the time, and you don't see anything wrong with that, with being a pick-me in that sense? If you're not questioning yourself all the time and holding and do you understand what I'm trying to get at? I feel like I'm not phrasing this well, but the point is, if you're going, there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing, there's nothing wrong with being a pick-me. Okay, maybe true in your personal life, but if you carry that same attitude into your professional life, where you're supposed to be commenting on gender dynamics, if you're like a social thing, or if you're talking about that, about femininity and women, then actually it is a problem. Actually, yes, it is a problem. It is a problem if you think that if you have the attitude that there's nothing wrong with being sexually competitive with other women, even in the sphere you're working in, when you're talking about, that is actually a problem, because you should be constantly, and that's not to say, look, everyone, of course, all these unconscious things are going to play into people. I'm not saying like I'm immune to that either or anything, but the point is, you shouldn't be so happy to just let that happen. You should be holding yourself accountable and questioning your unconscious motivations and going, and rather than just accepting and going, well, it's totally fine that I'm doing this. No, I don't think it is actually, in a professional sense. Especially if you're doing what you're doing, you need to be telling the truth. The truth needs to come before that. So you need to be questioning yourself and not just being fine with letting those drives come to the fore and go, well, it's totally okay, because anything's okay in the sexual marketplace of competing. No, it's not. Not if your job is telling the truth and wanting to improve society. Like, I'm sorry, then you've got to question yourself and go, am I, like, I need to take this away from this now and make good content and tell the, do you see what I mean? That's actually the core of why I think I'm annoyed at this. So we're not talking about any girl, who's just saying, well, I want to present myself as well for it. That's, I think, why my main criticisms with Layah and these women in these spaces come from. That's why I think I'm annoyed by them kind of openly going, well, I'm a pick-me and that's totally fine. It's like, okay, maybe in your personal life, but if this is what you're doing professionally, then actually, no, it is a problem. And you need to be questioning and going, okay, but not when it comes to the truth. Point being, if you're admitting to wanting to get men to like you as a primary conscious driving force of your behaviour, unconscious aims are very different. That's something we should constantly be questioning, really, if you're wanting to tell the truth. But if the point that you're consciously accepting those aims as a primary driving force, that's bad. That's really bad. You've really gone far off the road there. I think really that's not acceptable. Your primary conscious aim, conscious, I know unconscious we can't always control, but your primary conscious aim in this sphere should be what is true. It is the most important thing, far more so than our own wants. I thought personal drives over truth was what, you guys hated the leftists for. We won't always live up to that, to putting what is true over how can I best present myself. But Christ, can we at least try and not consciously embrace this of how can I best show myself, this is fine, how can I best show myself of appealing to men over how can I get to the truth? Can we at least not consciously do that? I understand unconsciously we might sometimes fail, but can we at least not accept that consciously as acceptable, please, in this realm? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I'm just seeing like conflict of interest. I hope that makes sense. So I think Layah is actually, do I want to be mean or do I want to say this nicely? I think she's arrogant and has a habit of speaking for all women because, I don't know, all about her. I mean, that's harsh, but if you're going to do shit like this, I don't know how else you want me to describe it, Layah?
What percentage of women hate Andrew Tate?
It's a great question. Oh my God. I feel like most women lie, right? Like most women have no idea about what they're talking about and they don't understand their own emotions. So I would say I'd say 90% of women say they hate Andrew Tate, but I would actually say 100% of women are looking for a man like Andrew Tate. That's the reality.
Do not speak for me. How dare you think you can speak for me? This is why I get annoyed with you, Layah. You claim to speak for all women and you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
Most women lie, right? Like most women have no idea about what they're talking about and they don't understand their own emotions. So
I dislike Andrew Tate. I can break down for you in detail why I dislike Andrew Tate. In fact, I've already done so a couple of times. So no, I'm not a crazy woman who just doesn't know what she's saying. I've just been washed away by like mainstream narratives and stuff because I'm just like hormonal. And in terms of wanting a man like him, if I have to say it again, I will. I find Tate creepy, effeminate, and unattractive. I don't want a man like him. I think he's morally bankrupt, hypocritical, easily offended, delusional, over-emotional, and childish, and he makes my skin crawl. You want to fuck Andrew, Layah. Yes, we all know. Trust me, darling, we know. It's literally your entire personality. But you are not all of us. We don't share a mind, thank Christ for that. We don't share emotions, and we certainly don't share the same taste in men. So I'd appreciate it if you could restrain yourself from projecting your character traits and inability to detect sleaziness onto all women, and not speak for 100% of us, because somehow you know we're all lying. Cheeky bitch. I don't remember the meeting where we nominated you spokeswoman. That was probably the day I was off sick after an overdose of your content. This isn't the only time that Layah has been entitled enough to decide that she represents every woman in the world.
Situation where this has just popped into my head, where I want my girlfriend, who I love, to be a kept woman, but she doesn't. She wants to pursue a career or something like that.
Then find a different woman. Very simple.
Or go for it. If you want to be a stay-at-home husband and she can provide for you, then so be it. Do whatever suits you. But the reality is, eventually, she's not going to be attracted to you as a stay-at-home husband. That's just the reality. But if you want to do it, do it.
Sorry, Layah. Do you know his girlfriend? Have you met her? Have you sat down and had a nice girl chat about what she finds attractive and stuff? Yeah? Because that's the only reason I could think of why you'd make such a bold statement. You have a terrible habit of speaking for all other women like you're the authority. How dare you suggest that? Now, you could make a generalisation. You could make a generalisation and say that most women will be less attracted. And I believe there's even actually data to back that up. Okay, that's fine. You can make a we can talk about that then. You can have a discussion, but, is that... that's fine, But, not every woman will. Generalisations, the point, they're general. There are always exceptions and not even just exceptions, but often a lot of outliers, okay? It's just not true. It's just not true that you just know this will happen. And worse, again, not only are you not speaking in a generalization, but speak for everyone. You're speaking for a specific woman right now. You've got no idea what she's into. Maybe a man washing up turns her on. Who knows? You're arrogant.
Well, I think a lot of the reasons why is that women will judge an entire person on a 30-second TikTok clip.
Yeah.
Right? So you'll just rush to judgment on anyone. Seeing one clip. Oh, boom, he canceled. No, I didn't like what he said.
I was just gonna say, I think it's because women are very emotional, right? Like we are way more emotional than men. Like you brought up that clip of me earlier, like that makes me emotional because I genuinely like mean what I said from the heart.
Yeah.
And like I think women are more emotional. So like yes, if you see a video of Andrew saying something which is harsh and naturally exaggerated for marketing purposes, it's gonna trigger an emotion in you. And then I think it takes, from my experience, either more time or a man around you to say, hang on, Layah, like, why don't you look at it from this perspective, you know, and you can actually see the logic. And then you're like, oh yeah, okay, actually that makes sense. So I think women naturally are going to not like him because we are emotional.
Layah, just because you have trouble with logic unless a man slowly walks you through it like you're a fucking toddler.
Hang on, Layah, like, why don't you look at it from this perspective, you know, and you can actually see the logic.
Doesn't mean that other women have trouble getting their brains to work properly. Have we considered the possibility that you're just not very bright?
No, I mean, I just think a lot of women are all in their emotions. You know, they say they want one thing, but they really want another. And, I agree with Andrew when he says women don't know what they want.
This is the Rollo Tomasi position, and it's total crap. And it's just a justification for saying that women shouldn't get a say because we burst into tears every time we try to think. If you think men don't also get emotionally attached to ideas or can be blinded by pride or anger or are sometimes just plain stupid, then I don't know how you made it this far in life. But I won't be painted as struggling to follow logical conversations just because you're an irredeemable cretin. Like, just stop it. It's just not true that men... Like, I think there's different ways in which men and women can be illogical, but just stop. Just fucking stop.
Hang on, Layah, like, why don't you look at it from this perspective, you know, and you can actually see the logic.
And do I really have to say it? Do I really have to say it? Do I have to? I think I am going to say it. This is a female sexual strategy where you infantilize yourself in order to be more appealing to men. I'm silly and helpless and need rescuing. What is logic? Can you explain this to me? Oh no, my brain just fell down my top. Gosh, I'm so clumsy. It's my feminine emotions. They make it hard to stay upright. Oldest trick in the book, but don't throw all women under the bus in your play at the Marilyn Monroe effect. Do it in your own time. Go wild, love, I don't care. Pretend you can't read. Stick a saucepan on your head and cross your eyes if you think that'll help. You snag yourself a man. But when you speak for you. Don't damage the competence, intelligence and credibility of women's collective voice in order to promote your sexual desirability. That's where we're going to have a problem. You claim to speak for all of us far too often. I've got a question for you, Layah. I'm curious about this. I'm really curious about this. How do you go from interviewing David Icke, who, yes, there's the whole lizard thing, but a massive part of his message is also individual sovereignty and not outsourcing your thinking to anyone else. That is central to so much of what he says, and I appreciate that about him. And as far as I'm aware, his message isn't only aimed at men. So how do you go from interviewing someone who stresses the importance of not outsourcing your autonomy to anyone to saying that you stopped wearing eyeliner because your brother told you to and you never question what he says? I'm interested in the journey there.
I'm very close with my brother, and my brother has proven to me on so many occasions that he is correct when we debate something. So my brother has proven himself to be the man, in my opinion. And so when my brother Gideon says, Layah, we're doing this, I'm like, okay, because I've seen, like, I've shit tested him. I know that he's right. Honestly, if my brother says, Layah, change your shoes, I'll change them. I did the other day, I went to do a podcast with Iman Gaji, and Gideon was like, Layah, don't wear those shoes, wear those. I was like, okay. My brother told me to stop doing wings on my eyes, like the makeup. I go, okay. Because I trust his opinion. I comply with everything my brother says.
When I tell you that I would be so weirded out if my brother started telling me what to wear or what not to wear. I don't know which of the rules that breaks, but I feel like it breaks one of them. The law of nature? It can't just be me who finds that a little uncomfortable. It's not just me. The comments had a fucking field day with that one.
I comply with everything my brother says.
Imagine being obedient to one of your siblings. Have I walked into a Cassandra Clare novel? What the fuck is going on? Jace, that's your sister! Sorry. No, I'm sorry. I crossed the line. I did cross the line. I did cross a line there, Layah. I hold my hands up. I did cross a line. But in my defence, I don't know how else to react to that. I would think my brother was high. Are you all right? Did the brain disease finally progress? That's a shame. 22 years. You had a good run. Look. There's no use getting upset about it. You've lost a genetic lottery. I don't know what to tell you. Now go and sit and dribble in the corner because you've clearly lost all cognitive function if you think you can tell me how to do my eyeliner. What's wrong with you? Do you not have a girl to take out or something heavy to pick up and put down again in the same place? Why do you even care? Get a fucking hobby, mate. Begging your pardon. Can you imagine? Galatea, I don't think you should do your eyeliner. Sorry, who are you? Sorry. Oh, that's right, because I thought you were my brother. Weird.
Don't wear those shoes, wear those.
It's just sad, isn't it? Just, I'd disown him. I would.
What you're saying is everyone needs a Gideon in their life.
My brother's the best.
Layah's banter. Don't be Layah. Don't be like that, Layah. It's banter, innit? It's banter. You get it? Yeah, British banter. Yeah. You know how it is. Look, your family dynamic is your family dynamic. Live your life. Being a weirdo isn't illegal. Where I do care is that you take that mentality of order following and you use it as a template for the feminine ideal, for how women are supposed to be and behave and do what they're told and not question. And that, by the way, in case you were wondering, is how women end up doing sex work because their boyfriend told them to. Obedience is not femininity. What the fuck are you talking about? Even from a traditional perspective, we'll leave all modernism stuff, we'll go fully traditional, that women should submit and follow their husband's lead. We'll go even there, Layah, we'll go there, I'll go there with you. Okay, right from there. Even from that traditional perspective, how can you be a good mother if you're incapable of making choices? How can you be a good wife if you're not there making sure the right decision gets made because you're offering enough of a counter that ensures the choice is a strong one?
My brother is the smartest person I know. I'm at a point where I just don't even argue with him. If he says something, then I'm like, okay, yeah. Like, he tells me not to wear much makeup, the eye wings, they're gone. He tells me to change my shoes, change the shoes, because he's just right. Like, I know that he's right. And so I need a man that is as intelligent as him. Society has brought the bar down for men when women, we need it higher.
How can you hold down the fort if for any reason your husband is out of commission for a while or permanently? How can you help take the burden off him by helping him reason through a really difficult decision if you're just going,
Okay.
are all of his suggestions? This is ridiculous. This is like watching a little girl playing house. So out of touch. She wants to sit at home relaxing and not thinking.
So somebody said to me, Layah, here, take a drink, take a shot. And I was like, whatever he thinks. This girl, she comes over, she goes, no, you're a strong, independent woman. You don't need a man to tell you whether you can drink or not. And I was like, no, if you think I should have another drink, I'll have another drink. If you don't think I should, then I won't. So I was just like, I'm not playing these games.
Imagine being proud that you don't think for yourself. Imagine flaunting that you don't think for yourself. Imagine believing that not thinking makes you more womanly. Imagine thinking that's a virtue. When you're so desperate for Andrew Tate's attention that you publicly admit to being a moron. You want to go really traditional? I'm pretty sure not even the Bible would advocate for that. It would say, no, women use your brains and think. And there's that Bible passage about what a good wife does or whatever. Like, this is not traditional. This is infantile. Also, can I just say, so the woman she's talking to in that clip, I've come across her vaguely before. I don't know a huge amount about her, but so she's an older woman. Not meaning that as an insult, you know, it's rude to talk about a lady's age, but just in the sense that, like, any older woman that I know, especially any like kind of conservative or traditional older woman, they like hit a young girl across the face or like smack around the head if they heard her talking like that. They heard her being silly. Like older women, the point that they like slap the silliness out of silly young girls. Like, I'm sorry, I don't mean that like, maybe literally slap the silliness, but you know what I mean. Older women, traditional older women. Like, I've never seen. I think that's actually disgraceful. That this older woman is like, thinks this is funny, or like she's acting like a young girl. This older woman is like listening to this young girl being silly and not saying, why are you being so daft, lass? Like, come on, sort yourself out. Like, I can't, like, all the traditional women I know And all the like, oh my God, like rural traditional women, like farmers' wives, like people like round here, or like who do like, oh Jesus, they'd you know, whack a young girl around like and just like sort yourself out, girl. Even traditional like, no, what man's gonna want a wife like that? That's just daft. Why are you being silly? That's what older women traditionally do. Is they tell younger women when they've been so daft. Jesus Christ, that's what like oh my God, my grandmother would have just like, I don't know what she would have, and she'd have just been like, why, like thought that older woman hadn't grown up and hadn't matured and hadn't become like an old, like that's just like stunted. These people are not traditional. They're not. I find it wild when girls over the age of 16 still engage in this type of childish attention seeking and aren't embarrassed by how transparent it is. What Layah's doing here is just a slightly, not much, but slightly subtler way of playing dumb for attention. A couple of girls at school used to do that before they, you know, grew up. We had one girl ask in a biology lesson if fish swim. And even the boys that fancied her got annoyed at that one. It was like, right, we know you're dumb, but you're not that dumb. Have a day off, love. Maybe I'm not being fair. Layah might not be playing dumb. She might actually just be dumb.
And my brother has proven to me on so many occasions that he is correct when we debate something. So my brother has proven himself to be the man, in my opinion. And so when my brother Gideon says, Layah, we're doing this, I'm like, okay, I comply with everything my brother says.
You're bragging about not thinking, Layah. You can't decide for yourself whether to have another drink. You have trouble deciding your own wardrobe. You comply unquestioningly and you prefer to outsource your thinking to someone else. So in that case, can you please explain to me, in full sentences, why on God's green earth I should take any of your ideas seriously? This is a genuine question. Why should I listen to you when you are telling me that you prefer not to think? This is how you end up blindly defending someone when you have no idea what you're saying, by the way. Which is fine. If you don't want to think for yourself, go for it, darling. But don't project it onto other women and promote this idea that that's how women are supposed to be. How dare you promote that as the essence of femininity? How did you come up with that? I'm very interested in the thought process. How did you come to that conclusion when you apparently can't use your own brain without male supervision? You said that, honey, not me.
And then I think it takes, from my experience, either more time or a man around you to say, hang on, Layah, like, why don't you look at it from this perspective, you know, and you can actually see the logic. And then you're like, oh yeah, okay, actually that makes sense. So I think women naturally are going to not like him because we are emotional.
This is just lazy thinking. And then she hides behind, but I'm a woman, we're all like this. It's too stressful for us to think for ourselves and make our own choices. And it's so annoying. Not only because it's lazy, but also because sod off. Don't use us as an excuse for all the ways in which you fail to measure up. Work on yourself and leave us the hell out of it. Take some accountability. Stop acting like being a woman is an excuse not to think. And worst of all, Layah, again, you are doing a disservice to actual traditional women, of which, as we've established, you being unmarried, childless, and with a successful career are not one. You're not one of them. I'm not either. I don't claim to be. But like you, I also get very annoyed at the sneering at femininity and traditional feminine roles in society. And you do claim to be a traditional woman, by the way, Layah. You claim that. One of the women I respected and admired most in this life was my grandmother when she was still alive. And she was as traditional as they come. Grew up dirt poor, she went through some bloody hard years, and she spent her whole life taking care of other people. First as a nurse, and then for her 4 children, and then for her grandchildren. She cleaned for people and cooked for them and could heal them with her hands. I hardly have any memories of her sitting down. Genuinely, hardly any memories of her sitting down because she was always running around after people, making sure they had what they needed and cleaning up after them and feeding them. And she offered wisdom and guidance and emotional support and was warm and selfless and kind and nurturing and soft and the kindest, warm-hearted person you could ever meet. And if she'd ever heard me speaking about how I let a man decide everything for me down to whether or not to have another drink because that's what women do, she'd have smacked me around the side of my head, Layah, and told me not to be so damn stupid. Then she would have asked me if I wanted to be stuck with an idiot, because only a daft man would want a daft woman. And what offends me greatly, despite the fact that I'm not a traditional woman myself, is you, Layah, presenting her and women like her who worked and served others every day of their lives and were authorities in their own spheres of influence, who to her Being a good wife meant being capable, competent, challenging my grandfather when she thought he was wrong and digging her heels in when necessary, who worked hard for others and hardly spared a thought for herself all her life, who was as ferocious and defensive of those she loved as she was soft and gentle. And what offends me is this parody of a traditional woman you're painting online to pander to your audience. Worst of all, because you are not a traditional woman by really any metric. That it's relaxing, easy, self-indulgent, thoughtless, a child's fantasy of femininity. Like it's all just so much fun not thinking for yourself, easy, such a lark. As if being able to think for yourself and to question and trust your own instincts and challenge decisions that don't sit right with you aren't qualities that traditional women will also need for the hardships that are bound to arrive at some point over the course of a life. This is insulting to traditional women. This makes a mockery of them. And it also makes a mockery of femininity. If you want to infantilize yourself, that is fine, Layah, but then stop presenting yourself as the spokeswoman for traditional femininity when you are nothing of the sort. This is LARPing.
So their wife can stay home and relax.
I'm just imagining how my granddad would react if he was still alive and I showed him clips of this and asked him if this is what traditional women were like in his working class Northeast community when he was growing up. He'd just laugh. No, I know what he'd say. He'd say you were a soft southerner. That's the first thing he'd say. And then he'd say that that sort of attitude isn't fit for life. And he would probably then bemoan the pampered state of the new generation. Because that's the funny thing. There is nothing traditional about this mindset. Traditional women were not indulged and thoughtless creatures who relaxed at home all day, struggle with using their brains, and waited to do what they're told. I mean, I think you're just talking about Marie Antoinette, aren't you? You're all modern superficial weirdos who live on the internet. Hug a tree. This girl, she rips into people all the time for not using their brains and for falling for mainstream narratives and being dumb and not thinking for themselves.
And they can't even define misogyny. If you look at my other videos, I ask all these women, what do you think about Andrew Tate? Oh my God, I hate him. He's a misogynist. Can you give me an example? Also, can you define misogyny, please? Crickets.
But apparently, not thinking and absolving yourself of personal responsibility is only okay when she does it. That's not cringe, because she only does it with men. And we know from Rolo that men are infallible.
Because he's just right, like I know that he's right.
And to make it extra safe, Layah only does it with men that she's tested to make sure they're good men. You know, like Andrew Tate. Foolproof.
The natural way is for a woman to be submissive.
I don't want to get copyright struck on the music, but she says to the right man, like, I'm not being submissive to any random man out there. Hell no, it needs to be the right man. You'll have to show me that test, Layah. Tell me what it involves. I, for one, am very impressed with your results. Guaranteed to find you a good boyfriend who won't end up in jail. Jail. A boyfriend who's not involved, charges sex trafficking, faithful, and kind, Layah. I think you gave me the wrong test.
Girls that are 15 years old in 10 years time will have a big thank you to say to Andrew, because the guys that are currently 25 are consuming his content and learning how to be a man. You know, what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to protect and provide? Forget toxic masculinity. Andrew's actually teaching men how to be men. When these 15-year-olds turn 25 and they're looking at men that are 35, you know, they're gonna have better men to pick from because they've learned from Andrew.
Yes, thanks, Layah, because I want a boyfriend who runs a webcam studio, convinces me to sell myself online, and also scams people. Thanks, Andrew. One day I will meet my Prince Charming, and if he doesn't also have a harem of other women, I will be very upset. If he doesn't engage in psychological control tactics, I will weep dramatically and ask myself, is he even a feminist?
Andrew is doing a great good for women and for feminism. I think Andrew's actually the greatest feminist if you think about it. And I've actually texted Andrew and I told him,
give up. Have a day off, love. You can defend some of the things Tate said without going all in and defending dumb shit. Do you think for yourself at all? Oh no, sorry. We don't question strong men here. Got it. You talk such shit, Layah. This is so ridiculous. It's beyond saying I don't think he's a criminal. Now we're on, he's the greatest feminist. Layah. You're just being silly now. Layah. No one believes that. Not even his fans believe that he's the greatest feminist. Literally no one. Stop it. Just stop it. I am living in a Monty Python sketch. This is a dream, and you are a figment of John Cleese's imagination.
With government backing, I could make it very silly.
This is the only logical explanation from this.
He's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy.
You're not real.
Now go away.
So Layah, as I said, she makes lots of videos about Andrew Tate. There was the one which was called My Honest Reaction to His Arrest, and she put not biased in brackets in the title, which, I mean, I believe her. I don't think she would lie to us. I don't think she would. No, she's an unbiased, professional, truthful journalist who wants fairness and justice to prevail. I mean, yes, in her own words, she's also friends with him, and also the success of her YouTube channel was built on her support of him. But that doesn't mean she has any personal investment in this at all. I think we can trust her to be unbiased. So one of her more recent videos, there was that, the honest reaction, the honest unbiased. Guys, I really want you to respect Layah and the fact that she is so good at being, even though she's friends with him, she put that aside to be unbiased in that video. Really impressive. Like she said in the title and everything that she was like not biased. So even though she's friends with him and like went to his house and stuff, and also like relies on him for her career, like it's really, really impressive that she had the moral courage to like be not biased. So anyway, there was that, the not biased reaction to his arrest. But then also, one of her more recent videos on Tate was her reaction to the Vice documentary. What's Layah's first criticism of Vice?
All right, I'm only 1 minute in and I can already tell this is incredibly biased.
Unlike Layah. Layah's not biased. Shows she is a journalist with so much integrity, because like nothing annoys Layah more than being biased. Nothing. She just calls it out when she sees it in other people. She's like, wow, you're biased against Andrew Tate, but not me. I'm not. Look, ooh, in the video title it says not biased. Because if she says it, it'll make it true. That's how it works. So Layah's really great journalism in the videos follow a similar format. So she says very little, she pauses it on occasion to say something brain dead, offers nothing of value, and pouts at the camera. You know. And there's like, it's subtle. You really got to appreciate like the artistry involved in her videos, because it's like really subtle, like little facial movements that really add the flavour to the lack of anything intelligent. I'm sorry. The over the top housing did make me laugh. It did, but it's okay, Layah. I do it too. I just edit it out. I did actually in my Patreon video. I caught myself doing it over on Patreon, and I don't edit my Patreon videos, so I couldn't edit that. I just went like this in the camera. I went like, and I was like, oh my god. So no, I get it. I understand. I do understand. You know, just. But the problem is, Layah, because you're not really giving me anything else to focus on. I could ignore that if there was something else going on, but there's kind of not really, is there? What creative decision was that led you to decide that? It's bold. It's really bold. But yeah, in essence, that's what she does. That's the format. That's what's going on. She does that, then she'll add in something about, I don't see anything wrong here. I love strong men and we should free Andrew Tate. And then she waits for all the horny men in the comments to call her an angel for being so loyal and defending Tate no matter what, conveniently not mentioning that doing so is in her interests and her career relies on it. But we can go with the whole, you know, she has strong morals narrative if it makes you boys feel better about the shameless simping. That works too. That's fine. We can do that. It's her morals is why you watch her, isn't it? Yeah. I noticed that about her. I did. That was the first thing I did notice about Layah, was the two very front and centre morals. I did. Yeah. The always in shot of the camera morals. Hey, I don't blame you. I'm not holding against. They're good morals. I love Layah's morals. I would just like to add a disclaimer. That is not dig at you, Layah. That was just a joke. I would just like to say that I get it. I've got my stockings and you have your morals. And that's really important that we both have that. And I think it bonds us together as like soul sisters or something. Wow. Wow.
Having a street fight, would someone stop? No, exactly. So that's your reaction. I need to fight back.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
This is not life is not a video game that you can turn on and off. Life is serious. There are dangerous things at every corner. You can't just tap out because you're tired. As a man, you need to be able to defend yourself. I even think as a woman as well, we're not built like that. So that's why we need men to do this. Protect our honor. I think it's a great thing.
Ah, yes. Andrew Tate. Protector of women's honor. I don't know about you girls, but if I had a boyfriend who tried to convince me into doing online sex work for the pleasure of other men, I would certainly feel like he was defending my honor. Ladylike dignity. Preserved.
What do you think his detractors would say about, for example, what you just said, the phrase "my woman"? Do you think that they would consider that to be misogynist?
Oh my God.
The phrase "my woman" for me ties into the very traditional values that we have.
On that point, there's nothing sexist or misogynistic about saying "my women." It's a beautiful thing. Would it be sexist if a woman said "my husband"? No. So why is it sexist if a man says "my women"? If something belongs to you, you're gonna look after it. You're gonna protect it.
You're gonna put it online so other men can wank over it. I love your traditional values, Layah. I think you and my grandma would have gotten on.
Was Andrew's right-hand man, Iggy Semmelweis.
Here I will share with you my secrets.
He's the self-proclaimed greatest hypnotist in the world.
You will learn the power of hypnosis.
And seemed to have an agenda that expanded beyond the war room itself into something larger and darker.
Your sons will marry their daughters. Your daughters will marry their sons. You will create legacies. Enjoying those juicy steaks, that finer scotch, those smoother cigars.
He refused to speak to us.
I don't see a problem.
But it's clear that he has a...
You don't see a problem with Andrew Tate's personal wizard?
Beyond the war room itself.
I mean, I think the problem is that it's deeply embarrassing, Layah.
Big role to play in whatever the war room's real agenda is.
This is the war.
This is so ridiculous. They're acting like the war room is this dark, mysterious, dangerous cult. The way Matt is like, I managed to get access to it. It's really not that hard to get access to it. But in reality, it's just a group of men coming together, trying to improve their lives.
A group of men and a wizard? Don't forget the wizard. Nothing to see here. It's all very normal. This is just a group of men coming together to try and improve their lives. A group of men and a wizard. He looks like, I think he's a satanic high priest. I don't think he's a wizard. I think he's a Satanist. Rejected cast member of Now You See Me. It's just, I love how she phrases it. You don't have to like fucking cope for Tate so hard. Like you could still even defend him without like not allowing like any criticism. You can say, yeah, the wizard is kind of fucking cringe, but like, it's not evil. You could just say that. That would make it better, but instead she's like, this is so normal. It's just a group of men coming together and trying to improve their lives. Just admit that it's weird that there's a wizard. This is what, it's just the dead behind the eyes. I cannot accept anything negative said about him. It's ridiculous.
What about in passing, asking people like, what single question?
Hang on, wait, pause. Are they having a topless male photo shoot in the war room?
Now I have new mountains to climb, and I'd love to get back here a year from now and go to the gym of the guy who beat the shit out of me.
Didn't it feel like a movie the last few days? I feel like that's a great metaphor for life. We shouldn't be slaves, we shouldn't be working 9-to-5 jobs. We should actually make our lives into, I guess, a movie.
I want to be known as one of the best fathers in the war room. I can't look at my sons and tell them to suck it up, Buttercup, if I don't say yes to this.
Yep.
That's incredible. He just said he wants to be the best father. How can he look at his son in the eye if he's not brave enough to get in the ring? Where is the toxic masculinity there? This is so healthy. These are men thinking about their families, thinking about their children, thinking about their women, and thinking, how can I be a better man? How can I defend their honor? I'll get in the ring and I'll do better. I'll have goals. I will grow. I don't see the issue here. I support this. I love this. And I hope when Andrew has the opportunity to, once he's out of jail, he can keep inspiring men to have goals, to grow, to do better. Not one person has said, yeah, now I'm stronger, I can control my women more.
Pretty sure there are multiple clips of Andrew Tate saying that, but carry on.
Not one person has said, yeah, now I'm stronger, I can control my women more.
You can program them. They are programmable beings. They're designed to be programmed. You just have to be a large enough force to program them. That's all you have to be a force in nature.
Tell me a view I have that you think is genuinely insulting or destructive to society. I'd like to hear it.
You prefer younger women who are 18 or 19 because you can leave an imprint on them?
No, when I say leave an imprint, I mean that. I understand what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that, like, if I get her, I can brainwash her. I'm not trying to say that. If you meet a girl who's 22 and you're her second boyfriend, she's probably like a nicer person, less jaded, less upset, less suspicious.
So you like to be in a position of power?
It's not being in a position of power.
You can program them. They are programmable beings. They're designed to be programmed. You just have to be a large enough force to program them. That's all you have to be a force in nature.
Of course, female beauty is extremely valuable in the eyes of men who seek to exploit it.
That's rubbish.
I don't give a shit about having sex with beautiful women. I fuck them so they listen to me, so I can get what I actually want, which is not them. It's a means to an end. Every single Bond girl was exploited. That's exactly what I do.
Have you heard the term lover boy before?
The lover boy method?
Yeah.
Here it is. Did you guys catch that? Yeah. So Vice said that, you know, Andrew Tate exploits women's beauty. Layah says that's rubbish. Right after she says that, literally 2 seconds in that documentary, Andrew Tate literally says how he exploits beautiful women and he doesn't care about them and they're a means to an end. And he used the words exploit and he ends it with, that's exactly what I do. So it's rubbish that female beauty is valuable for exploitation? Is it, Layah? No, it's not. He literally says the exact opposite. But look, and she says nothing here. She's just said, no, that's rubbish. That's not what it is. That's rubbish. And then 2 seconds, she just watches him just say it, and she says nothing. It's like, did you just catch that? Her brain just fucking blanked. This is what I call Tate brain disease, where it's like they can't hear the bad stuff and will deny wrongdoing that he himself admits to. Like this is the level of like insanity of like he's saying this, he'll say, and then his fans will be like, "No, that's rubbish. No, I didn't hear that. It's rubbish." It's like, you fucking said it, you dickhead. What? Like, and also, like, Layah, why would you not just edit that out of your video? It makes you look so bad. Why didn't you edit that out? He directly contradicted your defense of him. 2 seconds later, fire your editor. Fire your editor. You should have cut that. It makes you look like you're brainwashed. It does. It makes you look like you're brainwashed and biased to an extent that there is nothing that could convince you that he's in the wrong. The utter refusal to criticize or see any wrong makes you and him both look really bad. And also, criminal accusations to the side, Miss Heilpern. This is the man that you are calling a good man. This is how he talks about treating people.
We're told not to film the celebrations that conclude the evening, and it's not clear exactly what goes on. But once outside the lobby, we could clearly see a room containing naked women being photographed.
Naked women.
You're so traditional, Layah. I love it. I love how traditional you are. This is so traditional. Hello, I'd like to interject with some new information that I recently became aware of. So I'm planning to put this section of the video out as a video on its own. So if you're seeing this, it may be as the beginning to its own video, or else in the middle of my full video on the moral degenerate formerly known as Layah Heilpern. I only became aware of this information after I filmed the video, so what I'm filming now is an addition because it's relevant to what will follow, and it will go back to normal in a second. I would also, the reason I'm doing this as its own clip as well as its own video and also putting this part in is because I would like to give Layah, who is in full support of Tate in pretty much every way that I've seen, and who vocally defends his like of very young women, I'd like her to give her the opportunity to publicly denounce this.
So let's just watch this video about Vivian, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
At it where I've had girls who say, oh, I know you're with Vivian. I know you've been with her a long time. I don't mind. I'll stay out tonight. You two stay alone. All that shit. But it never lasts long. Because the ones who are really in love with you won't do that. You actually have to downplay your relationship with the girl of 6 years. And I only get away with that because the girl of 6 years plays along. So Vivian's been with me
So he's been with Vivian for 6 years, right?
completely head over heels in love with me. She wants kids with me, everything. And we met and we fell, whatever, we're in love. But when a new girl comes, she'll go, oh yeah, I started off working for him and it's just how it worked out.
So Vivian's in on the con, right? And so if you're being deceived, even in the love arena, in order to get you to sex traffic, in order to get you to do the webcam business, it's part of the force, fraud, or coercion.
Super downplay us. When I bring on new girls, I usually pair them with Vivian. Because Vivian's younger. Melissa's like 28, Vivian's like 21.
Vivian's 21. And at this point, he's been a girlfriend for 6 years. So you do the math. It means that they met when she was 15 years old.
Fun, more outgoing. Melissa's really quite, not in a bad way, she's more homey, boring, sits at home. So if you're going to pair a girl with a girl, it's much easier if the girl's fun. So a description of your relationship process with Vivian. So yeah, that's how it started. I met Vivian in Slovakia. We had a long-term relationship thing. I was living in England. It's a really long story. I don't want to tell you the whole story. I moved her to England to be with me to start doing my webcam company, which I started. If you don't have a webcam company, you need to look into it, because as soon as you have a couple girls in love with you, it's the fucking easiest money in the world. No, I take that back. It's not easy money. You got to build it up. But once you get girls built up, then it's free money. Like every other business, you got to build it up. But I decided I want to start a webcam business. Vivian's beautiful. I said, look, stop being a waitress. Come here, live with me. She came. Everything was fine for a couple of weeks. Melissa obviously lived in England. They didn't know about each other. They found out. They tried to have a big argument with me. I did exactly as I said, downplayed it, didn't give a shit. Everyone moved in together. Everyone started doing webcam. I was making loads of money. Then we agreed to the split like we said. And that's basically been it. Since then, new girls have come along. Vivian understands that I'm fucking these hoes, but I don't care about these hoes.
So the manipulation involves Vivian. He has a penchant for younger girls.
When you run game like me and meet the women who I meet beautiful virgins. I'll do 2 or 3 virgins a year. A virgin when you're an ice cold player. There is a tactic.
Given that you regularly speak about how Andrew Tate is a personal friend of yours, Layah, that you cannot imagine him to be involved in any wrongdoing, and you loudly and proudly defend him from pretty much all criticisms or any doubts cast on his supposedly glowing character, I'm wondering what your comments are on Andrew Tate apparently admitting to dating a 15-year-old girl and then flying her to England to do camgirl work for him. As you are a believer that most of what is going on is just the Matrix trying to tear down a good man, I'm afraid that I must insist you provide a convincing reason why this is false, or Andrew Tate didn't mean it, or was lying, or we shouldn't take this seriously. Or why this isn't serious or something to be totally disgusted by. I want to hear this. This'll be good.
This clip of him very calmly talking and giving advice, we shouldn't take it seriously because I know he's innocent.
Which defence, Layah, are we going to go with now?
Okay, well, I'll admit on the surface, like, this doesn't look great for Andrew, but you guys have got to remember that Andrew speaks in a lot of hyperbole. He must have only met her when she was 15, and I know Andrew personally, so clearly he clearly probably only started her on camera when she turned 18, and I don't think I think it's ridiculous to call this grooming or anything like that, because actually, fun fact, you guys, what makes this totally fine is that in Slovakia the age of consent is 15. Yeah, so as his friend, there's obviously nothing wrong with this. This is another case of the Matrix and the media attacking a masculine man for just being healthy in his sexuality and healthily expressing interest in younger women, like 15 years old. Come on, you superficial, self-obsessed bimbo. I want to hear you say it. I want you to defend this. I want you to reveal yourself so we can all see just how deep the moral rot goes. In fact, I extend this challenge to all Tate fans. I want to hear you defend this. Defend being with a 15-year-old. Just take the mask off, you predatory pieces of shit, and prove that you don't care about this. Or else I want to hear the cope. I want to hear it. I want to hear the defences. I want to see the extent you will go for him. I want to see just how far you're in the cult. Oh no, that's part of his character. It's hyperbole. It's just to make him appear like more cool because, you know, like dating and exploiting teenagers that is hyper masculinity, guys. What we need to embrace to fight the New World Order. He just wants men to be more masculine. There's nothing wrong with this. He didn't mean it. And don't think you can be silent on this and that makes it okay. No, 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 no. I am speaking right now to every single creator who has been publicly defending Tate as a good guy and who treats women well. Who treats women not just, but as is natural, as they should be treated. As #masculinity. Everyone who has accused those who don't like him of being brainwashed by the Matrix. Or being unfair. I want an update video where you give your thoughts on this. You can debunk it or support it. Either one. Go for it. Do your best. But either way, do something. Because otherwise, I'm going to assume that you think it is acceptable to have a relationship with a 15-year-old girl and then get her doing sex work for you, but you're just too cowardly to publicly admit it. If you've got a good defense, I'll hear it. Tell me. But say something. Well, that's what I'm assuming. And I don't care about the other claims about him. We're not talking legal. Fuck that for now. Tell me what you think of what he said here. Tell me what you think of this. Just this. This is your hero. Fuck me. Trapping young girls. Oh, yeah, he's really the poster boy for freedom. Freedom against tyranny. This is your masculine standard. Wow. What sort of man dates a 15-year-old girl? And what sort of men cover for him, shut their eyes and ears to it, pretend he never said it, or who still herald him as a good man? Men I would spit on in the street. There's nothing masculine about that. Cult-like followers. That goes for you too, Layah. This man is your friend. Wow, you can pick him, can't you? Here is your opportunity, Layah. Here is your opportunity to publicly condemn what he just said there. I'm going to give you and others the benefit of the doubt and assume that you had no idea he said this. But if you remain silent on the issue, I will then have to assume that actually you do know and you don't care. And it's more comfortable and beneficial for you to ignore this. That it serves yourself more. That you don't want the embarrassment. I hope you do show a bit of bloody courage and decency for once, Layah, and say something about this. I would not hold that against you. I would respect that. I'll go back to the initial video now, and you'll see why I included this extra clip beforehand. It adds more context. Just every time I say 18 in the upcoming clip, if you like, you could swap that out for 15 and imagine that I have 10 times the fury. And as for what I think of this clip of Tate, well, unless something miraculous comes out to prove why I shouldn't take him at his word here, and why even if it's the case that he lied, why that's okay, unless a miracle of that sort happens, what's my current position on Tate? He can rot.
Another really controversial topic is the fact that Andrew talks about liking younger girls. Now, a lot of these clips that we see of Andrew have actually been taken out of context. So when he talks about younger girls, we're not talking about women who are younger than 18.
I mean, except when he was wildly inappropriate with that 17-year-old girl live on camera, but carry on.
I don't think he's ever said that. I've never heard Andrew say he's into young girls. He's talking about women in their 20s as opposed to women in their 30s and 40s.
But then you were in a debate where you argued that it's okay for him to value teenage girls over women in their 20s. So which is it? Because it seems to keep getting younger and younger, Layah, and you keep justifying it. Speaking of, here's that clip of her conversation on Piers Morgan, and after I play this, I have a rant incoming, because this, taking into account the wider context of what exactly it is she's defending, made me hate her. I'm not kidding, she is a terrible person.
Yeah, I don't think he said anything wrong. I think all he's doing is talking about reality. And I don't think it's misogynistic to say you prefer a woman that's 18 versus 25. It's literally just a sexual preference. It's the same reason
Yeah, but
why
that's
young
not. I
women
don't.
prefer older
Just to
men.
jump in, I don't think. Yeah, but Layah, I don't think that's the misogyny. I had this argument with my sons earlier when they saw the clip. The misogyny isn't that he has a preference for girls of 18, 19, and 25. The misogyny is in the way he talks about every woman who's 25.
So but that's
as
just
if
an
they're all the
emotional
same
reaction.
and they've all been
But that's
through
just
this
an emotional
tawdry background which he finds so distasteful. That's obviously ludicrous.
Well, I think he speaks with a lot of hyperbole. His goal was to go viral. Obviously, as Esther mentioned, not all 25-year-old women have been sleeping with every single man that they meet in a nightclub. So there's always exceptions. But I just think in general, a 25-year-old woman obviously has had more experience than an 18-year-old woman. And some men prefer that. Some men don't like that. And I think that's completely fine.
So I'm planning on doing a video on this in the future with this red pill obsession with 18, 19-year-old girls. Not saying it's everyone, but don't tell me there aren't people who say that. I've heard them. They're very prominent people. Because, like, red pillers or, like, guys online talking about this, I've noticed something interesting. They seem to have this, like, bizarre idea that when other people, but also Andrew Tate, talks about 18 and 19-year-olds being the best girls, lots of people and lots of red pillers seem to think that people are outraged on behalf of older women. I'd like to just explain something to you and set something straight. Okay. You guys think all these older women can't stand not being desirable, so they hate it that men want the teenagers, and that's what's driving the rage toward this. Like, it seems to be that you think it's older women's jealousy of younger women that's pushing this, whereas I would say it's older women's understanding of and protective instincts towards younger women. Actually, that's what's pushing this. The problem I have is not what's being said about older women. Is it rude? Yes. Does it make me furious? Not really.
I just think in general, a 25-year-old woman obviously has had more experience than an 18-year-old woman, and some men prefer that, some men don't like that. And I think that's completely fine.
You know what I would like? Please, can we stop describing teenagers as women? I know technically, legally they are, but I hear the phrase 18-year-old woman and it sounds like an oxymoron. Same with 18-year-old man. It sounds ridiculous, because it is. See, my youngest sister just turned 18, and she's a lot of things. She's smart, responsible, mature, talented, independent, can probably take care of herself fairly well, is capable of verbally tearing someone apart, is also incredibly irritating. Sure, she's all those things. She is many, many things. But a woman is not one of them. Not yet. Legally. But in reality, she is not a woman. She is a girl. All her friends? They're girls. She's still at school. She still has to wear a school uniform and put her hand up if she wants to go to the toilet. I feel like the people who are saying they just don't know any like 18 or 19-year-olds. Or they've only come across them like in a club when they're all glammed up and trying to pretend that they're adults when they're just not, and they're fucking pretending that they're more mature and older than they are. Are any of you seriously telling me that you would look at a group of 18-year-olds? Like after school, there's a group of 18-year-olds, 18-year-old kids hanging out. Are you seriously telling me you would look at a group of 18-year-olds and describe them as a group of women? I blame Americans for casting people in their late 20s as high schoolers. Now everyone has a warped perception of what real teenagers look and act like. So you can stop with the disingenuous bullshit that people are just angry that Tate is attracted to fertility and youth. No. The reason people are angry is because he talks about how if they're 18 or 19 years old, they're easier to mentally control. You guys then try to flip that like the scummy little liars you are. No, he didn't mean that. He's just saying that girls that age are sweeter and nicer and prettier because they're younger and they haven't had time to turn into feminists yet. Fucking bullshit. That's not why he goes for them. He goes for them because they are easier to control. He has said that several times. Sugarcoat it however you want, you degenerate fucks. But we all know that's why. He has said that's why. And if you are still denying that, given everything else he has said, you are so, so dishonest. Childlike is what he means. The younger you are, the more gullible you are. Can't believe some of you idiots needed Tate to come along and tell you that. Young girls are really high in agreeability. They find it really hard to say no, especially if someone is being nice, even if they don't want to do something, even if they're feeling incredibly uncomfortable. Andrew Tate knows that. I myself have struggled with that. It's something most women I know only learn to cope with in their 20s, and I think that's the actual reason that Andrew Tate likes teenagers. To exploit them. He literally said it himself in that clip you watched, Layah, you stupid. But you'll just deny it and lie for him even when he's not even covering for himself. This is what I meant in the past when I've said that Tate doesn't understand women. He doesn't. He understands how to manipulate girls. I think he understands how to manipulate girls very well. Do you have a younger sister, Layah? Just turned 18? I'm going to guess that you don't. I don't think you would be coping so hard for Tate if you did, because I'll describe that feeling of hearing someone in his 30s talk about how he manipulates girls the same age as my baby sister into doing camgirl work, how he chooses them specifically because they are so naive and trusting and easy to mindfuck. It's a primordial rage I didn't know I had in me until it bubbled up from somewhere deep, a disgust that I feel with every inch of my being, and it has everything to do with a protective love over how vulnerable and stupid and young I know 18-year-olds are, and nothing to do with being upset that I might be too old for the creepy man with a camera.
Tax is also another important element for controlling your woman. You're not going to pay anybody tax because you're getting paid in Bitcoin. So you don't need to pay tax to anybody. Tell your girl that you're paying the tax. Because girls are lazy, and girls are stupid, and girls don't understand how taxes work. One is another control element.
You want to blow up the internet? I'll blow up the internet right fucking now. The reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds is because they've been through less dick. Whereas a 19-year-old might have had one guy from high school, just broke up, she's fresh, and I can fucking put my imprint on her and make her a good person, and without her having to go through all that detriment to learn about life.
You're always working. Why don't you work for me so we spend more time together? Work for you doing what? Say, I'll have a webcam business. Oh, I don't want to do that. So, okay, I know you don't want to do that, but listen. Come, let's have a meeting. Let's just talk about it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Fine. But let me explain it to you properly. In fact, I'll bring one of the girls who works for me. Your bottom bitch, the new girl, you go out for fucking a nice dinner. Your bottom bitch is the one who does the selling. You don't do the selling. The girl has to hear from a girl. And this is why your bottom bitch has to be trained. That's why I said it's so important to have a good first girl. You can program them. They are programmable beings. They're designed to be programmed. You just have to be a large enough force to program them. That's all you have to be a force in nature. I knew some street pimps. I've known them for a long time. Straight street pimping is a completely... In fact, no, it's not a completely different game. The psychological aspect is the same. There's been scenarios where a girl hasn't acted quite right over something small, not a big transgression like cheating. Then I continue to see her, but my demeanor towards her changed. And my demeanor towards her didn't change much in day-to-day life, right? But it changed when we had sex. And she smelt it and she could feel it. And it hurt her bad. To go from all that nice shit to just fucking her like she's, but not in a good way like she's nothing. In a bad way like she's nothing.
It's because in that moment, you have her in her most vulnerable place.
That's right.
Oh, it's certainly harder to find innocent hot girls because hot girls are absolutely and utterly corrupted because they're corrupt, because they're an asset that men try and corrupt.
I don't give a shit about having sex with beautiful women. I fuck them so they listen to me. So I can get what I actually want, which is not them. It's a means to an end. Every single Bond girl was exploited. That's exactly what I do.
When you say webcam company, people assume, oh, it's just a sex fest. But in reality, it's a shitload of people management. The HR category of the webcam business is the largest and most important thing. You're effectively taking girls, teaching them how to make unlimited money from home, and then making sure they give it all to you. Your goal is to inspire a girl to make money. So the way you're going to do that is you have to have some element of influence. And you're going to have that element of influence through her respecting you, looking up to you, and her believing she needs you. And this is extremely important because at the beginning she will need you, but then she won't need you. But you have to keep that fallacy, keep that dream alive.
Fallacy, that's his word. And what is fallacy? Fraud.
If they don't believe you or they want to get fresh or whatever, print out some tax forms. They don't know what they're fucking signing. Let's throw them away afterwards. But they think something's happening. Something real is happening. Nothing's happening except me get rich, bitch.
This, by the way, is why I've gone so hard on you in this video. Because if a 36-year-old man knowingly, calculatingly, and intentionally psychologically manipulated my little sister into sex work, you would be publicly defending him because she's an 18-year-old woman. And not only that, but you'd still be loudly insisting that he's a good man and would actually have the audacity to describe him as protective and caring towards his girlfriends and accuse anyone who said different of unfair slander. And I'm just imagining what it would be like having to listen to you publicly parrot his virtues with a brain-dead smile on your face if my teenage sister was involved. And I can't quite describe how that makes me feel towards you. I think you'd be shocked at how strong my feelings are. I imagine the term murderous rage was coined under similar conditions. I don't think you could understand this emotion unless you knew a girl that age that you loved more than your own life, had watched her grow, saw how young and vulnerable she still is. If one day you have a daughter who reaches 18, then maybe you'll get why I think you're such an unbearable cunt. She's still at school, you fucking bitch.
And I don't think it's misogynistic to say you prefer a woman that's 18 versus 25.
She gets into trouble if she hasn't done her homework. Do you understand that? Just think of that right now in your mind, what that means. She still has to say things like, sorry sir, no I wasn't chewing gum. Oh miss, can I have my phone back? Sir, please can I go to the toilet? No miss, I wasn't talking at the back of the classroom. Do you get that? Do you understand that she's not an adult like people in their 20s are adults? She's still under the authority of adults. How easy do we think it is for someone in their mid-30s to convince a teenager who is used to trusting and being under the authority of adults to do what they're told? And not just anyone in their mid-30s, someone who's made a career out of doing that. On a scale of 1 to rot in fucking hell, how depraved would we consider an individual who's selling a course on how to teach men to control and manipulate naive young girls into sex work?
How can you be offended by somebody's sexual preference? And this is nothing new either. I think a lot of this stuff with Andrew, he's saying what everybody else is thinking. Men, since the dawn of time, have preferred younger women for whatever reason, and that's okay.
I know you're like throwing out, well, that's an emotional reaction all the time, Layah. Damn right, this is an emotional reaction. Yes, I'm full of emotions right now. It doesn't make me wrong, though. You'll like these emotions, though, Layah. These are good emotions. These emotions are hardwired into me from feminine, maternal, protective instincts. You think these are good tradwife emotions, so where the fuck are yours?
Controversial comment, which a lot of people don't like that he said in the interview, was he compared women to children. Now, I think a lot of what Andrew says is hyperbole, and I think it's exaggerated, and it's simply just an analogy. No, he doesn't literally think women are children. If he thought women were children, he wouldn't be sleeping with women.
Can I also just say that if Layah genuinely thinks women are really like children, then how in the hell can she justify him psychologically manipulating any woman of any age into doing sex work? Then surely what he's doing is really reprehensible if women are so unable to mentally defend themselves in any way, and we really are like children, all women. I'm curious about that. I'm 10 years younger than Andrew Tate, and even I recognise I have massive psychological advantages over 18 and 19-year-olds and can really easily manipulate them, especially boys. I could so easily manipulate an 18-year-old boy. Oh my god, it would be so fucking easy. Are you kidding me? An 18-year-old boy? No, I'm saying boy here, not man. An 18-year-old boy. I could fucking destroy him mentally, emotionally. Now, the very thought of that repulses me because I would just see a kid my sister's age. New to the world, no idea what he's doing, naive, trusting, sweet, probably, yes, technically he's an adult, but am I to blame if I mentally fucked with him? Absolutely, I'd be a degenerate for that. But Tate has another decade on me, so where the fuck does that put him with a psychological advantage over girls that age? Am I supposed to find that impressive? Oh, how easily he gets girls to do what he wants? A man in his 30s, mid-30s, what the fuck is wrong with him? And Layah, you and I were about the same age. You're actually a little bit older than me. And I know, you also know, how easily you could have an 18-year-old boy eating out of the palm of your hand. Do not even lie to me right now. You're very pretty. You wouldn't even have to try to get him to behave in ways he wouldn't normally. You could totally direct the course of his life and have him believing it was all his idea. It wouldn't be hard to eviscerate his will completely if you wanted to. And all the while, he would adore you and ferociously defend you and be outraged at the suggestion that you were anything less than an angel, and don't people know he's an adult and an independent man in his own right? And how dare they suggest he's being conned by the woman he loves? And it would probably take him years to figure out what had happened and the extent to which he was mind-fucked. Does that thought gross you out? Yeah, it should. And I know you know all of that is true. You could do that to an 18-year-old kid if you wanted to. Look, we're not... Yeah, I know technically an adult, it's fine, but we're not talking here. I'm not talking legal here. We're talking moral. Lots of things are legal that are immoral, Layah. I'm sure you'd put feminism into that category. And you still say that Tate is a good man. I would like to add to that as well, that I'm not talking about dating an 18-year-old. I think that's a separate issue, and depending on how old someone is who's going out with them. I'm talking about intentionally, psychologically manipulating an 18-year-old and getting them involved in that kind of industry. And he does I think intentionally, psychologically manipulating anyone is absolutely despicable, but particularly someone that you recognise as more vulnerable. And this whole thing of like people, oh my God, people saying, oh, well, as soon as you then we have to start considering all these things. Should 18-year-olds then be allowed to go and fight? Should 18-year-olds are allowed to do all this stuff? So we have to say that they're adults legally. No, I'm not arguing that. I'm saying that it's, oh my God, psychological manipulation is effective on anyone. But if you are so disingenuous, if you're going to lie and pretend that when you're younger, when you're 18, when you're newly an adult, that you're not more vulnerable to that, that is the most disingenuous shit I've ever heard. And that's not to absolve them of all choices and say they're still babies. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying everyone, all adults, all human beings have free will, and they're also all susceptible to an intentional psychological attack, because that is what it is. And the younger, more vulnerable you are, or even really the elderly, are more vulnerable to that. And it's stupid if we pretend that's not true. It's so disingenuous. It's just like dishonesty from people. Which, again, this is why I get slightly irritated at this, and I feel like it should be taken in conjunction with my video on Pearl. If someone is intentionally, psychologically manipulating someone, should that be taken into account? And is that, if not illegal, we don't know, we'll see what comes out in court with that. And I've never condemned Andrew Tate and said he's guilty in that sense. I've got loads of things that I've got issues with in question. But can someone have agency and also be unfairly psychologically manipulated, and we can hold the psychological manipulation to account? Yes, we absolutely can. And I know a lot of the same guys defending Andrew Tate also believe that, because they'll talk forever about manipulative women, messing around with men and immorally, manipulating them. It's not all one or all the other. And if someone's intentionally, and someone who's, again, good at what they do and calculated, going after someone and intentionally manipulating them, should that be taken into account? I think absolutely it should, especially if someone is young and vulnerable. Now, does that mean they're totally unable to make their own decisions or any of that? No, it doesn't. But it means that's definitely a massive factor that should be taken into account. God's sake. I don't know why this is hard for people to understand. See, when I think of what he's selling and everything he stands for, and I also think of what he advocates for doing to girls the age of my little sister, I'm sorry, but you're all failing so epically in getting me to feel an ounce of sympathy for poor little Andy, who was just trying to make the world a better place. It means nothing to me. It just pales in comparison. Which is why, by the way, I find it laughable when he talks about having a protective instinct for those girls. Oh. I'm perfectly confident... Let the record show, I'm perfectly confident saying that I have more developed protective instincts than he does. I've known her whole life that I would die for my sister. I've never had to question or think twice about it. For all my siblings, actually, but talking in regards to this. And I would do everything in my power to stop her exploiting herself, never mind being the one to convince her into it. God, better I cut out my tongue then convince her to do that. So I don't want to fucking hear it that he cares about those young girls. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that he's a good man who cares about them and loves them. That is a lie. See, unlike Andrew Tate, and the people trying to convince me he cares about women, forget this. Unlike Andrew Tate, I know how it feels to want to protect a young girl of that age. I know what actual protective instincts and love feel like, and whatever the hell he's demonstrating, it's not even a distant relation of actual protective love. So don't fucking tell me he thinks women are the most precious creatures in the world and should be protected. Bullshit. I know what that feels like. I know what that feeling is. I know how it feels to regard another living being as the most precious creature in the world that you would die to protect. And if you truly feel that, if you truly believe that someone is precious, the last thing you do is exploit or hurt or steal from or try to control whoever you feel that for. Don't insult the profound nature of a love like that with cheap, tawdry declarations to justify treating people as tools for your own benefit. I'd go hungry before exploiting my loved ones for money. He does it to make himself even richer. Don't lie to me and say that Tate cares about those women. Excuse it if you like, but don't insult my intelligence and try to make scummy self-interest sound noble or manly. I have such disdain for him. My disdain is endless. I think he's weak and a coward. My protective instincts are stronger than his. I absolutely stand by that. They are. He's pathetic to me. He's not a man, he's a disgrace. I just see a selfish little boy, and that's before we get to his own admissions of criminal activity. Is he really doing what he talks about? Well, he's teaching it. Either way, I'm thinking he's responsible for some considerable damage, and the constant attempts to present him as some noble, persecuted martyr standing alone against tyranny are fucking embarrassing at best and despicable at worst. He's not a sheepdog, he's the wolf. If I were to say, here's a thought experiment, everyone. If I were to say, I really respect men and I think that they should be valued and admired in society, and then you guys found out that I was selling a course on how to manipulate men, how to mess with their emotions and appeal to their masculine instincts in order to exploit money out of them and steal from them, would you then have the fucking audacity to go around telling men who criticised me that they're just brainwashed into disliking me because of the red pill, and that actually I really do value and respect men because I said I did, so it must be true? And also, if men were angry at the female fans of mine who are defending me no matter what, would you accuse them of just hating femininity and being threatened by what a strong, empowered woman looks like? Because that's all my female fans are. Strong women who buy courses on how to exploit and psychologically control men. Wow, it's really toxically masculine of you to have a problem with that. The fact you think those women are morally bankrupt is only because you want to oppress femininity. It's not immorality, greed and selfishness on their part. No, it's women embracing their natural power. You must be a bitter incel if you're disgusted by that. Wow, you're so mind controlled by the Matrix. That's really embarrassing for you that you fell for the narrative that I'm a bad person. No, you wouldn't. You would condemn me in a heartbeat. So fuck off with your Tate propaganda, you damn hypocrites, and stop acting shocked that he is quite rightly reviled. We're not being unfair to him for feeling this way. But what is unfair is you telling us we are wrong for that. We're not wrong.
And I think that's completely fine. I think what really scares me is the censorship that we see online. On Twitter, there's actually porn on Twitter. You have terrorists on Twitter, and yet a man who's just talking about reality and the real dynamics between men and women.
You know what? I have to say, Layah, I think you make a good point.
Layah, in this clip, I know it's very long talking about this one clip, but I had a lot to say. Layah has also done that really slimy little trick that all the Tate fans do, you know, where they go, oh, but what about all these other terrible things that aren't censored and that are bad in the world and that people don't care about? Okay, I'd just like to add, watching this back, I might have been a little harsh on Layah for this one. In the context of the conversation they're having when they're talking about censorship in general, it's perhaps slightly unfair of me to totally condemn her for bringing up other things that also should be censored. However, I am going to leave this part of the video in as a response to more general Tate fans. Now, whether Layah has also used this defense beyond that conversation, I don't know, but I know Tate fans, I've seen lots of Tate fans in general do that, where they just point to other bad things in the world and say, look, but this. And then okay, yeah, but that's not an answer to what the criticisms of Tate are. People have done that to me plenty of times in my own comment section. So I'll say I could be more charitable to Layah in regards to that specific clip. However, I'm going to leave this in as an answer in general to the Tate fans who just point to other things and say, but this is bad, therefore Andrew Tate's fine. It's like, no, that's not how anything works. So they have to play the game in misdirection. Okay, we'll play it. What do you want me to condemn? I'll do it. I was anti-Andrew Tate being censored, so we can start there. I never supported his ban off social media. I was very outspoken against it. And yeah, I think porn on Twitter is also probably bad. What else? Let's go. I'm also pissed off that Epstein's clients seem to be skipping away into the sunset. Yeah, string them all up. What else? What else? Drag queens twerking in front of children? I fucking condemn it. Should not be happening. I totally agree. Sexual performances should be kept far away from children, whether gay or straight, and child drag queens I think is just as messed up as child beauty pageants, which I also hate and condemn. Let's not sexualise and do that to children. What else? Oh, they care about Tate, but not about the British grooming gang scandals. I condemn that. Still fucking going on, by the way, and what the fuck do we do? How do we stop it? I don't know. I was never pro capital punishment, but after the details of what's been happening to young British girls with an average age of 12, oh, I might be now. I might be now. I wouldn't shed a tear if every adult involved, man and woman, was hung. I'm not even bothered. I'll say that. I support hangings for the perpetrators of child rape in Great Britain. Anywhere, but we're talking Britain at the moment. Do it, don't care. I'm not ignoring sexual exploitation. My outrage is not politically motivated. I don't care where it's coming from. So there's my answer to that abomination. So now we agree that all of those things are bad. Okay, we've dealt with that. What do you have to say about it's all just hyperbole, even though he admitted it when not in character and to sell to his fans. So even if he isn't a sex trafficker, then he's still teaching people to do it in an online course, and that makes him a scammer. I have never been so disillusioned with conservatives as I am now. I don't think you guys care about stopping degeneracy like you yap on about. You don't give a fuck. You abandon your morals if someone says they're on your team. It's pathetic. But no, Layah's a traditional woman, you guys. Traditional women for getting 18-year-olds into sex work. My grandmother was an actual traditional woman, and if she'd come across a man like Tate when she was alive, not only would she refuse point blank to associate with him, but before she did that, she'd also probably grab him by the ear and shake until all the stupidity fell out. And if I was associated with him, ooh, she would give me a piece of her mind that would probably reduce me to tears, and then she'd tell me, good, I should be bloody crying for being so morally bankrupt and I didn't deserve any sympathy, and aren't I lucky I wasn't one of those girls on camera and I should just wait until she tells my mother and then I'd have something to cry about. That's how an actual traditional woman would react to Andrew Tate, in case you were wondering. She'd spit in his face. Tate receiving so much more condemnation publicly than Epstein and the grooming gang scandals is a fucking travesty, I agree. But it's his own doing. I can't believe I have to point that out. Why is everyone talking about Tate and not porn on Twitter? Why do you think, potato brain? Because it's his own goddamn fault. He wanted global fame. He orchestrated global fame. So be careful what you wish for. You guys can't all now turn around and cry and act surprised and shocked because the planet's biggest attention whore is getting what he wanted. Lots and lots and lots of attention. That's why people care, Layah, because he begged us to.
I think he speaks with a lot of hyperbole. His goal was to go viral.
It's like a deal with the devil gone wrong, isn't it? I'll make you the most talked about man in the world. But you never bother specifying the terms of how you'll get there, so he fucks you. Honestly, would not even be shocked at this point. It was the space elves. I don't know. Oh, no, you can only talk about him if it's positive, apparently. That's the thing. Oh, if you're going to say negative things about him, then why aren't you talking about all this other stuff? If you want to talk positively, then it's, oh, aren't we great? Oh, you. And also, another thing. Let's keep going. It's literally just a sexual preference is not a good argument when talking about age, especially when referring to literal teenagers. I'm just saying, bad choice of words, Layah. Don't make me ask you to be logically consistent with that one. Jail. And again, how about that video of him hitting on a 17-year-old girl? Ooh, comments on that? That was pretty gross. No, that's hyperbole. He didn't mean it. So, like, every time that he says something that I think is true and is empowering, then he's being serious and he's really helping men. But every time he says something that's like uncomfortable or borderline illegal, then it's hyperbole because I'm smart. Anything to say there, Layah, with that video? Or can only leftists be creepy weirdos, you inconsistent sellout? Actually and sincerely, I cannot stand you. I think you're terrible. And what makes it worse is that you're pretending you're not. At least Pearl kind of knows she's a dickhead. Hell, I know I can be a dickhead. I'm fucking brutal half the time. But this sickening pretense at concern as you pout at the camera and justify despicable behaviour, I think is worse. This is vanity, not compassion. You want to know what toxic femininity looks like, everyone? Enabling, ignoring, pretending, abdicating responsibility. This is it. Desperate to be liked for personal gain. It's another toxically feminine trait, we could say. You guys want to know why I constantly talk about nice people actually being immoral and cowardly and selfish and insincere, and why I cannot bloody stand them, why I don't like niceness and would differentiate it from true kindness. Kindness is very valuable, but it's a very different thing. I hope this offers a suitable explanation. I think Layah is a very, 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 very nice person. So I believe I first came across Layah when she was doing these little videos where she'd ask women on the street if you think Andrew Tate was such a misogynist, can you name one sexist thing that he's ever said? And when they couldn't, she'd be like, so I guess Andrew Tate isn't sexist at all. He says women are the most precious things in the world. Do you agree that he's a good guy now?
Do you guys know who Andrew Tate is?
Yeah.
Do you know who he is?
Yeah.
Do we like him? Do we not like him?
No.
Why not?
He's a misogynist.
Can you define misogyny?
Men are better than women and they're not.
Wrong. Have you heard him say men are better than women, though?
Yeah, but everything he said is like...
Like what? I've actually heard him once say that women are the most precious thing in the world. What do you think about that? Take on Andrew Tate.
Hate him.
Why do you hate him?
I just think he's misogynistic.
Can you define misogyny for me?
It's practically like not thinking that like you're better than women, but thinking that there's like in general
Do you know who Andrew Tate is?
He's part of human trafficking or something like that.
What? People keep saying that he does human trafficking, but he hasn't been charged with anything at all.
Because he left the country now.
So the allegation was in Romania, but there's no evidence at all.
Yeah, but like even what he says in his video, I've watched a little on TikTok. As a feminist, I don't appreciate how he talks about women.
Haram.
How do you know that he treats women badly?
He talks about it in his video.
Can you give me an example? Because I haven't seen him say anything bad or mean towards women.
Really?
Because I've met him personally and I've never experienced anything negative, and all you guys have seen is through TikTok.
Yeah, okay, but if you met him for a few minutes...
No, I know, we're friends. He's a friend of mine. He's a good friend. I've met him plenty of times. Do you not think there's a problem with judging people from what you see on the internet? Things have been taken out of context.
I saw just a lot of content about him that was negative.
But like what? Can you give me an example?
I don't know. Like I said, it was a few months ago because now it's the thing around him is a little over.
Why don't we like Andrew Tate?
Isn't it obvious?
I don't know. I'm asking people today.
He's quite a horrendous person. We love feminism and not him.
This is haram.
Okay, can you give me an example of something that he said which is anti-women?
He advocates and like recruits people to be against women's rights, basically.
Does he? Can you tell me more about this?
Well, do you want examples? I'll get my Google out.
I'd love examples. Let's see if we can get some examples of how Andrew Tate is advocating a group of men to sort of take away the rights of women.
Well, The Guardian says that Andrew Tate says women belong in the home, can't drive and are a man's property. I'm no one's property, and anyone who thinks so can go themselves.
I think he sort of means he'd take care of a woman the same way he'd take care of his other property, like his house, his car. It means he's going to look after her. Isn't that quite nice?
Hey Layah, ask me. Yes, random people on the street are uninformed, unprepared, and believe things without knowing why they believe them. But that doesn't mean they're wrong. You're asking for examples of genuinely awful things Tate has said or done? Ask me. What do you want? Examples of behaviour? Hitting on underage girls? Direct quotes talking about how he intentionally hurts women he's in relationships with? As advice to other men on a dating show? What about that? Do you think that's a little bit out of line? Psychological manipulation? Ask me. In fact, you don't have to ask. I made a helpful little video so you can pop along and give that a watch if you're confused. The thing is, Layah, you have been incredibly fucking disingenuous here, because you know, whether you agree it's bad or not, whether you agree, it's valid or not, you still know that there are genuine criticisms of Andrew Tate to be made and how he treats women that are totally valid, and you know that he said some questionable things. Or maybe you don't know, in which case you're a journalist, so why don't you know? I've actually mentioned Layah before in a YouTube video, though I didn't mention her by name. So in my video about Andrew Tate a few months ago, I said that yes, we shouldn't blindly accuse people. But I also said I found it equally stupid how people were speaking in his defence by saying idiotic things like, Tate can't be abusing women because I met him once and he was nice. My point being, how stupid do you have to be to think that's a convincing defence? Someone being nice to you one time doesn't mean they aren't guilty of a separate crime that happened to someone else. It reminded me of when Ellen was being accused of being terrible to workers on her show, and all these celebrities came out to say, Ellen was never mean to me, I support her. And everyone was like, yeah, no one said she was mean to you. That's not the accusation. Your testimony is useless here. So Layah was who I was mainly referring to because at the time she told this utterly mind-numbing story about how it's all fake about Andrew because when I met him he was charming and nice and he ordered us pizzas.
And actually one story that I do really want to recount is they'd ordered some pizza for us. Him and his brother had ordered some pizza. I don't eat pork, ham, or anything that comes from a pig. And so they ordered pizza with pepperoni on it and sausages and stuff like that. So I turned around to him and I said, hey, do you mind, I know you've already ordered it, but do you mind calling them back and ordering something else? Like, I can't eat that. He was more than happy to do that. And I felt more than comfortable asking. Called them back up, ordered me a margarita pizza, and it was no problem. There were some other girls there. They were all having a really nice time. Everybody seemed really happy and like they were enjoying themselves. It was then time to leave and I got an Uber home and that was it.
And I was just listening to this utter drivel thinking, but this is not a defense. This girl cannot be this moronic. But this proves nothing. This isn't someone you know well. This isn't a family member or a brother or a close friend. This is not someone you can actually vouch for. This is someone you met a few times who was accused of something terrible where there seems to be quite a bit of evidence mounting up to support that. Doesn't mean it's conclusive, but enough to go, oh, hang on, is there something here? And rather than making an objective statement, which you could do, that's fair. You could say, you know, obviously I don't know if this is true, but all I can say is he was nothing but a gentleman to me. I never saw anything weird. I liked him. The accusations are unfortunate and I hope they're not true as I consider him a friend. You know, hey, that's fine. That's a valid thing to do. But you didn't do that. Must be all lies because he never abused me. You know what's stupid about this? Like, even if I wanted to come out and defend a friend of mine, I would never do it like this because this doesn't help his case at all. Even if everything you say is true, which I do believe, to speak in Layah's favour, I believe everything she said, I believe her, that everything she said is true. I think Andrew Tate was probably nice and charming to her and bought her pizza. But even then, it disproves and disputes nothing. So your testimony is utterly pointless here. Use your brain! So I'm going to jump around her videos a bit here because I want to order what I'm going to talk about by topic rather than by video. So, and I've already jumped around a bit. So yeah, most of this is, again, to do with Tate. And this is why this video was initially going to be the same video as my previous one on Pearl, because before I realised that I just had way too much to say. So inevitably, lots of stuff about Tate will come up again, it already has come up, but the focus, however, is not on him, but on Layah, because this is a criticism of her response to everything that's happened with him, because I think the response is disgusting. As with Pearl, I've had many criticisms of Layah and how she presents femininity for a long time, but how she responded to Tate really highlights my problems with her. So I'm taking this opportunity to finally talk about it. Also, in terms of like, this is why, I mean, it's not necessary, but this is why like watching my video I did on Pearl is probably better before this, just because I go into that video of Tate talking about the things that he's done, that he sold as a course when he's not joking, he's telling other men how to, you know, how you do, whether it's illegal or not, you look at it and go, fuck, that's bad. It's a video of him saying that. So I talk about that, and I also talk about issues of accountability. How accountable are the women? Are they accountable? Are they not? So like you can watch this video without watching that, but like for full context of like is he to blame, or like are we just letting women off the hook? Blah blah. Probably talk about more of that, but I don't know. So like I just say that because it's gonna irritate me if I get people in the comments who like haven't watched the wider context. Going, accountable? Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. So yeah. Anyway. Layah made another recent defense of Tate. So there was that one that was a few months ago when the initial accusations came out, where she was like, he bought me pizza, so he didn't do it. But then she made another recent defense of Tate to when he was arrested recently. And this recent defense was terrible. I think it was worse than the first one. So in it, she just said that these accusations against him are bound to happen when you're working with women, apparently.
When you do work in that line of business, you're going to get these levels of accusations. It's no surprise to me. It's as they say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And that's what happens. The webcam business, you know, managing women, OnlyFans and things like that isn't illegal. But like I said, obviously, when you do work in these kind of areas and you work with women, Andrew was walking a very fine line working in that kind of industry. I also want to be clear that I don't think there's anything wrong with men managing women. It is a business at the end of the day, and a lot of the times, in my opinion, I think men manage businesses very well. However, when you are managing a business of this nature, where of course it's sexual, then again, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. There are going to be consequences. People are going to say things about you, whether they're true or whether they're false.
When you're working with women, apparently accusations will happen, and she glibly dismissed them and fell back on the old, he was nice when I met him.
Again, from my experience, cannot imagine that he would be capable of rape and human trafficking. These are obviously the charges. And it doesn't seem to be in his nature, and the charges seem to be very much out of character.
And then she abandoned everything that pointed to the contrary and defaulted to the favourite argument, it was the Matrix defence.
Also, I think what is very interesting and very bizarre to me is the timing of all of this. Andrew Tate is officially one of the most influential men of, or if not the most influential person of 2022, more searched than Kim Kardashian. This man has an incredible level of influence and power. And his message goes against the mainstream. It goes against the establishment. He's inspiring young people to wake up, take personal responsibility, and not be a slave to the government, not be a slave to the 9 to 5, not be a slave to the establishment. And if you have people waking up and leaving the matrix, as he likes to put it, and not being reliant on government, well, then that's bad for government, because then the population is awake. They're not as easy to control and not as easy to brainwash.
I hate this argument. I hate this argument so much, and I'll tell you why. It's because I'm on board with it, that it annoys me so much. I don't trust the government. I don't trust the establishment. I don't trust the media. I'm deeply suspicious of the powers that should not be, and I don't think they have our best interests at heart. I do not need to be convinced of that. And so I find it so galling when people just use that as a defence of Tate and are like, well, anyone who doesn't trust the government knows he's innocent, and that's all the evidence you need. Fuck off. That's not thinking for yourself. That's not thinking critically. And it's not a good enough defence. Otherwise, I would be convinced, and I'm not. You know why I'm not? Because I believe Andrew Tate. I think I have more respect for Tate than his fans do, because when he tells us what he does, I believe him. And then you lot come along and want me to believe that he's totally innocent when I'm going off what he's saying? It's fucking cult-like, it's ridiculous. I'm annoyed with you all because I'm on board with the whole let's not blindly trust authority in the media thing, yet you lot make a fucking mockery out of it by becoming some of the most thoughtless blind followers of all.
So Andrew is inspiring people to think for themselves and really just turn against the establishment.
Is he? Is he really, Layah? I see the opposite. I think he's inspiring people to blindly follow him.
Just trading one thing for another, that's all I see. How are you thinking for yourself, Layah? You admit you don't. At the moment, you seem to be patient zero for Tate brain disease. Your content is mindless, uncritical, embarrassing, lazy, low-effort, brain-dead, pandering mush. Don't call yourself a free thinker and anti-establishment when you admit to not thinking and to thoughtlessly doing what you're told if it's a strong man doing the telling. You demonstrate everything you claim to stand against, and it's a damn shame because you used to be somewhat interesting.
So obviously he did have a webcam business, and from what I understand, that was many years ago, although perhaps there is something to do with OnlyFans, which has been a little bit more recent. But when you do work in that line of business, you're going to get these levels of accusations. It's no surprise to me. It's, as they say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, and that's what happens. The webcam business, you know, managing women, OnlyFans and things like that isn't illegal. But like I said, obviously when you do work in these kind of areas and you work with women, Andrew was walking a very fine line working in that kind of industry.
Here's a question though. I want an answer to this. What if it is true, Layah? What if he's guilty? What if he's actually guilty? I don't think you've even considered that possibility. What if there was a victim trying to get justice, and in you jumping in to say, no, he didn't do it, what if you were causing more harm? What if you aided in making it harder for them to be treated fairly? What if you made it harder for someone genuine to come forward? What if you ran cover for someone who made someone else's life hell? Now, maybe you didn't. But you do not know. And that is why you don't defend someone you hardly know with no evidence other than he bought me a pizza. As far as I'm concerned, what you have done is just as disgusting as condemning someone with no evidence, because in both cases, if you're wrong, people get hurt and lives get ruined. And that is why you don't blindly rush in when you know that you do not know.
I want to be crystal clear here. I don't support any kind of sex work. I'm actually very against OnlyFans. I'm very against prostitution. And I'm also very against a webcam business. I think that it's very degrading to women. I think it's toxic. I think it's unhealthy mentally for women. And I think that women should preserve their value. Women lose value by showing their bodies off like that to the entire world, especially when there's a sexual transaction, when there's money. I don't like it. I think it's degrading to women and I'm against it. However, just because I think it's unethical doesn't mean that it's illegal and somebody should be put in jail for this. What Andrew chooses to do is his business. It's none of my business, each to their own. As well, as far as I know, all the women consent to this. So as long as it's consensual, nothing really here is illegal. My advice to women is always never get involved in any of these things. Preserve your value. Don't show your body off to the world. I think it's kind of disgusting, to be honest. And I think it's also very unhealthy mentally.
She's changed her tune. That's interesting. I thought the party line was, Andrew never treats women badly. Can you name just one example of him being a misogynist? Andrew treats women like the most precious things in the world. But now suddenly he's responsible for the degrading of women, damaging them mentally, and engaging in unethical behaviour. Huh. Kind of weird though, Layah, because you knew about his unethical behaviour way before this. So why only take a strong moral stand against this now? I mean, it's very noble of you, clap clap and all that, but I can't help thinking that if this is how you felt, you could have mentioned this before. A good time to mention it, actually, might have been when you were publicly embarrassing women on the street for saying they thought Andrew Tate was damaging for women. I mean, I feel like you could have brought up his women-degrading, unethical behaviour then. You know, right before you put them on your channel to be torn apart by Tate fans for being unprepared, when you could have answered your own question all this time, Layah. Who knew?
How do you know that he treats women badly? Also very against a webcam business. I think that it's very degrading to women.
But like what? Can you give me an example?
I think it's toxic. I think it's unhealthy mentally for women.
Why don't we like Andrew Tate?
Women lose value by showing their bodies off like that to the entire world.
But he'd take care of a woman the same way he'd take care of his other property, like his house, his car.
I don't like it. I think it's degrading to women and I'm against it.
It means he's going to look after her. Isn't that quite nice?
I think it's kind of disgusting, to be honest. And I think it's also very unhealthy mentally.
Well, I've actually heard him once say that women are the most precious thing in the world.
What Andrew chooses to do is his business. It's none of my business, each to their own.
Can you give me an example? Because I haven't seen him say anything bad or mean towards women.
Unethical.
I'd love examples. Let's see if we can get some examples of how Andrew Tate is advocating a group of men to sort of take away the rights of women.
Tax is also another important element for controlling your woman. You're not going to pay anybody tax because you're getting paid in Bitcoin. So you don't need to pay tax to anybody. Tell your girl that you're paying the tax. Because girls are lazy, and girls are stupid, and girls don't understand how taxes work. One is another control element.
No, we're friends. He's a friend of me. He's a good friend. I've met him plenty of times.
But then you wouldn't have profited, got on loads of cool gotcha clips for your YouTube channel, and then been showered with positive reinforcement from Tate fans as you humiliated the women who dared to say that they found him distasteful. I feel like that would have been a good time to mention that you also think his behaviour is unethical. Yeah, it's subtle, but I think the covering her back and backtracking has slowly begun, and it's fucking cowardly slimy and owns up to nothing. What a surprise. She's always thought it was unethical, guys. Always thought it was unethical. She's always been really against it because she's a traditional woman. Turns out it's not just leftists who engage in empty virtue signalling that means nothing and is calculated to benefit only themselves. So, Layah, you think sex work is damaging to women? No. Let's go over what you said. You think it's toxic, degrading, and mentally damaging. Yeah, so the cognitive dissonance. So you think all those things, but what's that? Oh, let me hear it. Your biggest defence of Andrew Tate is that he values women and says we are precious. Layah, even if he's done nothing illegal, by your own fucking standards, and this is you who's presented this, not me, by your own standards, he has degraded them, exploited them, and mentally damaged them. But he's never done anything bad to women. Do you stand by that statement? Do you stand by that? That he's the greatest feminist? I'm really interested. Do you stand by that? That he thinks women are precious? And he's not sexist and he's never done anything bad to women. Do you stand by that? So you're holding these girls, by the way, to a standard that you're not holding him to. Those girls hadn't done sex work before. Most of them very young. He got them involved in it. By your own words, you think he's unethical, but you're fine with that. Why? This is my actual question. So it'd be one thing if you're friends and hanging out with him and you don't see any problem with any of the work he's doing, blah, blah, whatever, that's one thing. But you do think it's wrong. I'm just by your own standards, why? Why are you fine with that if you think he's unethical? You think he is unethical? Again, your words, not mine, but you're fine to hang out with him and benefit from his fame and pretend that the unethical things aren't happening. You are a disgrace. So by your own standards, you're running cover for a man who mentally damages and degrades women. Again, your words, not mine. How do you square that in your mind? You're against sex work, Layah, but also when it comes to Andrew, quote, to each their own, and it's none of my business. In other words, what you're actually saying is you will turn a blind eye to all of those terrible things that you described, not me. You described them like that. You will turn a blind eye and keep your mouth shut if it's beneficial to you. Just say it, because that's what you mean. So you'll call out degeneracy and harmful ideologies to women when it's coming from the other side or if it's driven by women, but you won't from someone who bought you a pizza and is aiding your career. Bought you a pizza. Christ, how cheap is your blind loyalty to buy?
And this is extremely important, because at the beginning she will need you, but then she won't need you. But you have to keep that fallacy, keep that dream alive.
Fallacy, that's his word. And what is fallacy? Fraud.
No, guys, Layah met him and he was really gentlemanly, so this must be fake. Criminals don't buy pizzas for people. That's... well, it's the law.
If you are listening, Andrew Tate, you are weird. Trafficker.
I love how they call him a sex trafficker and they've never even met him.
Yeah, I love that for you because Layah met him a few times and that's can absolutely confirm that he isn't involved in any criminal activity. That's how this works.
These girls already, with all the swearing and the shouting, already come across as low-value girls.
I want to teach him how to respect women.
She wants to teach him how to respect women. Yeah, she's walking around with her trousers undone. Okay, you don't respect yourself.
Roasted. And yes, those girls are stupid in accusing him with no evidence, Layah. This is from a few months ago in this video. But you are equally stupid in defending him blindly. What does they exactly say? Love how they call him a sex trafficker when they haven't even met him. Do you think, question, Layah, have you met Epstein? Do you ever meet Epstein? How about Jimmy Savile? Do you ever meet Jimmy Savile? Yeah, that's my point. That's what I thought. Fucking stupid argument. So again, in her first initial video, where she defended Andrew Tate from a few months ago, The Truth About Tate, it's really funny. You should watch it if you want a good laugh. Because she mainly just like lists all the food that he bought her. Like over the course of, I don't know, she was hanging out for him in a couple of days or something.
And actually one story that I do really want to recount.
So he bought pizza for everyone.
Pizza for us.
I didn't eat this.
Him and his brother had ordered some pizza.
So he was really nice. He like rang up the pizza place.
Pizza with pepperoni on it and sausages.
And he got like other pizza.
Margarita pizza, pork, ham. We then ordered some food, wine, meat, starters, dessert. We ordered some drinks. We ordered some food. He ordered every single cocktail on the menu.
And then in the morning there was like
breakfast, which was nice.
And like it was so nice.
Professional catering staff laid out like a long table in the kitchen of
croissants,
fruits, granola, yogurts, croissants, coffee, tea,
orange juice.
Everything looked really delicious.
She just lists food that he bought.
You know, we get hungry, and if we're not fed, we get hangry. So I understand when he says women are children.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. Stop it now. You are embarrassing this great nation, Layah. No, that's not. It's just a list of food that he bought, and that's a defense of like why he didn't do nothing.
And Andrew walked me out, got up like a gentleman, walked me to the front of the building, and he ordered me an Uber home. And he ordered me an XXL executive, the most over-the-top, extravagant Uber there is. He paid for it. And he said to the Uber driver, "This is my wife. Please make sure you look after her, make sure she gets home safely. Otherwise, he'd have him to deal with." I thought that was very, very nice. He was being very gentlemanly, making sure that I got home safely, which is totally different and in contrast to what social media is saying about him. They're saying that he hates women, he abuses women, and clearly none of that is true in my personal experience so far.
I feel like I'm trying to explain something really simple to a child. Really, Layah? He was nice to the attractive journalist that was interviewing him. Well, I am stunned. This changes everything. Clearly, if he was really a bad guy, he would have punched you in the face, spit on your unconscious body, and then run away, chanting, I sex traffic women, I sex traffic women. Put that on your YouTube channel, you stupid fucking bimbo. I can see no reason why it may have personally benefited him to make a good impression on you.
So I went by myself, I got an Uber, and I went to go meet him. I decided to go by myself because I felt fully comfortable. I trusted this person. I met him twice. I've had conversations with him and I trusted him. He was very gentlemanly. He welcomed me. I sat next to him. And again, we just spoke about the world. We spoke about the last 2 years. Nobody was misogynistic. Nobody made any uncomfortable jokes. Nobody tried again to touch me inappropriately or anything like that. Absolutely not.
Oh, no one is accusing him of sex trafficking you, Layah. So with all due respect, your little story about how he had nice manners means jack shit.
Social media is saying about him, they're saying that he hates women, he abuses women, and clearly none of that is true in my personal experience so far.
Do I need to give you guys a list of serial killers and criminals who are known for their charm and charisma? Or are the rest of us less gullible than the average 5-year-old? Thank you, that's what I thought. Moving on. Wait till Layah hears about Santa Claus, she'll be in bits. You guys, if presents always appear under the tree, I really think that's enough evidence.
Look at them.
Just think critically about this.
So already that's a red flag.
Every Christmas morning for everyone in the world, there are presents.
It literally goes against all of the claims.
You guys, the government, they are trying to demoralize you with fake rumors about Santa Claus.
Something's fake, something's contrived, something not real is going to happen.
But if they were telling us the truth, then why would we write Christmas lists?
There's no evidence.
I know some whistleblowers have come out and said that it's them and not the elves who make the toys.
So clearly a lot of acting is going on here.
But they're obviously lying.
They're making up lies.
Obviously lying.
They obviously want to get as much clout as possible. They want to get fame. They want to be on TV.
And part of the conspiracy, because I've woken up just from my own personal knowledge of the situation.
Clearly none of that is true in my personal experience so far.
Like if I go off like what I've experienced.
This is proof.
I mean, I personally, you guys, have woken up on Christmas morning to presents under my tree. And obviously, as I said, from my own knowledge of the situation, I just can't imagine that I am being conned.
This is real.
Also, God knows the truth.
And most importantly, God knows he's innocent.
Well, she's got me. Can't fucking argue with that.
That literally makes the Tates innocent.
Oh, I am upset that I have to share a country with you, Layah. Right. Okay, so issues of morality aside, and Layah has already established that by her own standards, she thinks Tate is unethical and causing harm. But also she laughs at women who find him distasteful and says they have no reason to not like him because apparently he's the greatest feminist. We love the consistency. Yes, children, this is what happens when you advocate for women not thinking. Loving your results so far, Layah. Thank you for being such a good representation for femininity. I can't fathom why red pillars think women are mindless embarrassments with you as our spokeswoman. But issues of inconsistent moral standards aside, now we come to her loudly proclaiming his innocence on criminal charges. Does she have anything compelling to support this, like evidence, debunking of false narratives, or at least a persuasive argument? Does she fuck? Out she bravely goes, armed only with her morals, and... well, that's it actually. Yeah, no, sorry, that's all she's got. And that's enough for her to state that the claims against him are false.
And I'm also very against a webcam business. I think that it's very degrading to women. However, just because I think it's unethical doesn't mean that it's illegal and somebody should be put in jail for this.
Yeah, I agree. But legally running a webcam business isn't the accusation, though. Tell me you know that, Layah. You're a journalist whose career revolves around reporting on how many times a day Andrew Tate shits. So tell me you know that. You are not this dumb. This is painful.
What's this painting over here?
That's my brother.
Who else lives here? Is it just you?
I don't know if you've noticed, but I haven't seen any women tied up. I haven't seen any women struggling.
Oh, Christ! I can't. This is Pearl all over again. Oh, you idiot. You idiot. You idiot. You idiot. I just, like, what else am I supposed to say? Watch my video on Pearl for the full context for this section on sex trafficking. The section on sex trafficking in my Pearl video, watch that for full context. But, like, again, I go into it more there. But Layah, you know there are more ways to coerce someone and break the law than tying them up.
You are a child. You are actually a child. You saw Taken and think that's how most people are sex trafficked. Oh my God. You are not fit for the world. Go away. You have debunked nothing. And also, here's the other thing. Even if there were women tied up, do we think that Tate would let Vice film that on camera? You irredeemable idiot.
Andrew has closed down the pimping hose degree to focus on the Hustlers University.
I've said this before that I don't support webcam businesses. I don't like women showing their bodies off for money. I'm totally against all of that. However, it's not illegal and it's clearly consensual. So each to their own.
No, you bitch. You cannot state that it's clearly consensual. You don't know that. You can say you believe that, but you're being fucking terrible right now, Layah. This is appalling. And then she got the absolute gall to put, oh, I'm not biased. Look at me, not biased. Oh, the truth. Oh, look at me, the truth. Oh, I can't. You're a hack. You're a hack. You're a hack and a sellout. You're a sellout. You have sold out. You have sold out. My favourite, though, of all the dumb shit that Layah does to fucking defend him, my favourite is this video. I'm just going to show you guys. I'm just going to put up on the screen. I want you to just take a little look at what Layah has titled this video. How? Just take a look at that. I didn't know you did psychological analysis, Layah. I'm sorry. I'm fucking sorry. She's turning me into a 1950s cigar smoking sexist boss. Oh my God. I saw that. I saw the title and was just like, wow. I think I hate women. I think I hate women now. Yeah, that's done it. Well, I saw that title. It was like my body. I became possessed by like old school 1950s boss or something. I was possessed by his spirit. Davis, can you get Layah in here? Yeah, she's put this on my desk. Come and have a look. It's bloody hilarious. She's doing psychological analysis now. No, it's shit. Total shit. Layah. Hello, sweetheart. Yeah, Layah, darling, I have told you not to write. It's emails, isn't it, sweetheart? That's your job, emails. Right? Remember that, Layah? Yeah. Run along now. Oh, the secretary thinks she's a journalist. Well, she wasn't high for her brains, was she? Female brains are smaller, and I mean, that's the only explanation I can think of for this. Oh no, she's turning me into Vorsh! Layah, what have you done to me? Oh my God, I'm Vorsh. I can feel the words coming. I don't think I can stop them. I don't. You just want to live in Mad Men, don't you, Layah? Don't you? If you don't die the hero, you'll live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Okay, wait, hang on. Obviously, I'm joking. I don't think Layah does want to live in Mad Men. But what I'm saying is, this may surprise some of you, but I do have doubts about whether she's qualified to do psychological analysis. And it is a little bit like watching a 70s comedy sketch. A sexist 70s comedy sketch. Oh, I won't say any more, but you know, I don't need to say any more, do I?
I also noticed Andrew looks rough. He looks tired. Obviously, he looks like he's been in prison. I've never seen Andrew look like that before. It's very interesting to see him like that, in contrast to how we usually see him, always looking very sharp, on point, groomed. So yeah, he looks like he's been in prison.
Oh my God, Layah has done what no man in the red pill space has managed to do. I'm convinced women shouldn't vote. Give them dolls and don't let them leave the house. They only have rainbows in their heads. Oh.
There is none. That should be the story on the news.
Prosecutors carried out forensic searches of seized items from the brothers on Wednesday as they looked for further evidence in the case.
That's a really good point that Tristan Tate is making. He's saying that there's no evidence whatsoever. So how are the Romanian authorities able to extend the time that they have in jail by another 30 days? Surely that's the human rights violation. Surely that's what the media should be asking. How are you putting these two men behind bars without a fair trial, without evidence?
How do you know there's no evidence?
Also, I'm going to go back. You'll notice the use of all these weapons. So by showing money, guns, swords, and all these weapons, they're just trying to make it look like they are guilty, as if these weapons were the weapons that were used when they supposedly did all those things that they're being accused of. It's just so crazy when there's just no evidence. Like, this isn't evidence which proves that they are guilty of what they're being accused of.
How do you know they have no evidence? Also, no evidence does not prove that they aren't guilty, even if that is the case. Like, how can you make these claims, Layah? You can't say with certainty that they aren't guilty. You could say he's your friend and you don't believe he is guilty, but you're not doing that. You're just being stupid.
We've done nothing wrong. They know we've done nothing wrong. The case file is completely
Why do you say prison
and death? Why is prison and death?
Of course it's unjust. There's no justice in Romania, unfortunately.
Did you hurt any girl?
Of course not.
So firstly, again, he's denying the charges. The woman just asked him, did you hurt any girls? Andrew said, of course not. But then he said that there's no justice in Romania. He's saying that Romania is corrupt, which is so fascinating to me because that's actually one of the main reasons why he moved to Romania, because he felt that it was the least corrupt of all the other countries, including the United Kingdom, America. So the fact that Romania is now sort of like turning on him is really interesting. Does this potentially mean that the matrix is everywhere and it doesn't matter how many grids you're on, all the systems in those different countries, they're all basically one and they're all out to get you? I don't know. I wonder why he didn't just stay in Dubai, because that's actually one of the main reasons why he moved to Romania, because he felt that it was the least corrupt.
You fucking liar. Oh my God, the cope. You liar. That's literally the exact opposite reason he moved to Romania.
Romanian courts, so there's some, oh no, not a court in Romania. Dude, they're corruption free, as we all know. Put me in jail, I'm gonna walk in here with a pile of money like this. Boom, boom, this some hoes, this cell's mine. I'm ready, put me in jail. I don't give a fuck. You think they're court case, shove that in my mouth.
He moved to Romania to take advantage of the fact that they are corrupt, and now he's complaining about it. And she just keeps repeating throughout this video that there's no evidence. It's just brain dead.
Ask the police what evidence they have against me. It's nothing. They're holding me because of media pressure. Okay? They are persecuting me because I'm rich and successful. Do not get rich in Romania.
Again, there's no evidence, and it's so bizarre to me that they're able to keep these guys in custody with no evidence while they build a case. I've never seen anything like this before. Usually when there's no evidence, they go free, everybody complains. But it's true, there's a lot of media pressure. There's also international pressure. And then, I don't know if you noticed, but Tristan said they're going after him because he's rich, young, and powerful. I believe that at this point. If there's no evidence against somebody, how are you keeping them in jail? Well, because you clearly see them as a threat. You see their power, their influence, their money as a massive threat.
Also, I'm not an expert on the case, but from what I've heard, from what people have said, isn't that normal for the Romanian justice system? Which she conveniently leaves out because she's a dishonest hack.
So as I've said many times, I find the whole thing very, very bizarre. I still don't understand how you can keep people behind bars when there's just no evidence. How do you keep somebody in jail while you're building a case?
I mean, I could be wrong, but I thought that holding the Tates isn't illegal or out of the ordinary for Romania. Like everyone is acting like it's America that's detaining him. He moved to Romania for the system. I'm sorry, the dumbest thing I saw was Andrew Tate walking away and saying, Romania's corrupt. Like, expected that to get sympathy for him. Like this is somehow revelation. Yes, Andrew, we know. That's why you moved there. What do you want us to do about it?
Of course it's unjust. There's no justice in Romania, unfortunately.
Did you hurt any girl?
Of course not.
But then he said that there's no justice in Romania. He's saying that Romania is corrupt.
Also, I'm fucking sorry, but didn't Andrew, I play the victim, don't take responsibility and act like a social justice warrior when it suits me, Tate, say in his goodbye YouTube video that Romania wasn't corrupt and everyone who said it was racist towards Romanians? He's changed his tune. Oh, so that's convenient. So now he's been arrested, it's corrupt again. Wow, Andrew, you fucking racist. I can't believe you hate Romanians, you racist piece of shit. Wow, I can't believe you cast doubt on their justice system. You must have such a deep hatred of the Romanian people. I would just like his fans to acknowledge that by Andrew Tate's own standards, he has race-based hatred towards Romanians. Just admit that. Just admit that at the very least. That's all I want. I just want you guys to admit that he has deep racist hatred for Romanians.
Again, Tristan's saying they want him for his money. The Matrix are out to get him. The system's out to get him. Andrew's saying the same thing. The case file is empty. I agree, because if there's just no evidence, how are you keeping these two guys behind bars? It's so bizarre to me. So I agree with Tristan. And again, Andrew's saying how Romania is corrupt. That's just such a shock to me. I think it's quite sad as well when you invest in a country because you think that you'd be safe there and then they turn on you like this.
Yeah,
Yes, I wonder why the Romanian authorities decided to arrest the foreigner who went about bragging about how corrupt their system was and how he gets away with crimes. Oh, you lot honestly acting like he's an innocent victim and no one could have seen this coming. If this isn't the living embodiment of surprised Pikachu face. He put the Romanian authorities in an impossible position, so even if he is innocent, he's actually making it really difficult for them to let him walk away free without humiliating themselves as a country. And that's kind of on him.
I also noticed the guy that taps him on the shoulder and then tells him to stay strong, the way Andrew responds is really calm, really collected. I think that's a really good sign that he feels very confident that he knows he's innocent, people know he's innocent, and most importantly, God knows he's innocent.
And Layah knows he's innocent. How? Oh, don't worry about it. I mean, he bought her pizza if you're going to insist on needing evidence, but yeah. God knows! So I just like to present this as another mark on Layah is a dishonest, lying hack column or whatever. So, again, she did another video on Tate, of course she did. This latest video, it's about leaked conversation between two of the girls. So she's framed it with this proves it, whatever. What did she title this video? Oh, that's right. She called it New Andrew and Tristan Tate Evidence Leaked, Tate Were Framed, and in the thumbnail, Fake Victims. So in that, it's a short video, but she goes on about, this evidence, and this proves the girls were lying because the conversation between them. So the conversation between those girls does talk about them like acting and stuff. And it seems to show that small bit of it that actually, maybe they have been framed. Yeah, what's interesting is that since then, and very soon after that, the full context of that conversation was then leaked, from what I understand. I mean, I'm not actually following the case with a magnifying glass, but I hear stuff, and correct me if I'm wrong, Layah, but wasn't again that the full context of that conversation was leaked, and actually, what the full context shows of that conversation, it actually supports that the girls were victims, because that little snippet that Layah went through seems to show that they were setting him up. But again, the full context, people can go and find that, the full context of those conversations that were leaked in full, that shows their full conversation actually, I mean, maybe it's all fake, maybe, I'm not saying whether it's real or not, but what I'm saying is, if you're going by that standard of evidence that Layah's taking, actually, the full context of that does support the fact that it actually doesn't help, it supports the fact that they were victims rather than the opposite. And what it seems to support is that they were talking about acting to be able to get out of the house and leave. It's damning for Andrew Tate. It doesn't support him.
So 4 days ago, screenshots began floating around the internet of these two young women having a WhatsApp conversation, and these are the women that claim to be victims of the Tate brothers. The first girl was from the US. The second girl was from Moldova. And you can see through these WhatsApp messages how they talk about being actresses and essentially how they plan to set up the Tates. So as you can see, these screenshots are the transcript of the entire conversation, and it starts 2 days before the first raid back in April 2022. You can see the first girl starts off by saying, "You a good actress?" ? So already that's a red flag. Why would you ask somebody if they're a good actress? It means something's fake, something's contrived, something not real is going to happen. She then says, "True, perfecto, just play it cool." Got it. What are they going to be playing cool? Act like you don't know anything. Just play dumb. The other girl says, "I'm going to pull some tears out." Now we know that she's going to pretend to cry. So clearly they're going to be acting. She says, "And play dumb." Good advice. Thank you. So they're going to pretend to cry and they're going to play dumb. So clearly a lot of acting is going on here from the two girls claiming to be victims of the Tates. 1 day before the first raid, one girl says, "We are really good and we need an Oscar." She says we need an Oscar, which confirms these girls are acting and they're proud of the lies.
Layah is so dishonest. She's so dishonest because there's other parts of these conversations that add evidence to the fact that the girls were afraid. Like, she's just selectively picking stuff, which, oh my God. Like, if you don't want to take this seriously as evidence, that's fine, but don't present selective parts and leave out
Like, and to present this narrative, especially when that's mainly what you criticize the mainstream media for, like, this is disgusting. And Layah, she cannot claim to be unaware of this because this is her biggest complaint of the media, the mainstream media. And she is behaving just like the worst, most slimy, dishonest fucking mainstream journalist. She's behaving just like them. You're not different to them, Layah. You're not different. You've just got a different narrative that you want to present, but you are exactly the same. It's disgusting, especially because she must know what she's doing, because she criticizes the media for this. There are parts you can pick from those long... And I'm not going to do it because I don't... Like, this is the point of this is not even to go through or to say whether I think Tate is fucking guilty or innocent. I mean, I think it's obvious that I fucking hate him as a person. But, like, you know, leave that, see what fucking happens in court or whatever. But the point of this is Layah and her fucking terrible journalism. There's parts of that that you can pick from the conversation, from those same conversations that she's talking about now. There's parts of you can pick that show that the girls are afraid and they're worried about being found out, and that adds evidence to the fact that they're scared. So she's just so terrible.
Obviously, we don't know exactly what they're referring to here, but somebody called the embassy last year to obviously say something bad about the Tates, to say that they did something illegal. Maybe after saying we need an Oscar, that's what they're referring to. Maybe they just called the embassy to play victim. So if you scroll down and you can see here, the girl says, I told you to be like saying a nice message that we are hurt or shit like that we do love them, we just don't like the situation. So now they're talking about some kind of complaint against the Tates that they made. They're pretending that they love them, but they're just hurt and they're scared and they don't like the situation. So now we can see they're discussing the lies that they told potentially the embassy or the police, whoever it is. They're probably referring to when they were at the Tate's house. They're making up lies that they're being held hostage at the house, and they're playing the perfect victim by saying, we love them, but you know, we're scared, come save us. And obviously, as an American girl, if you call up the American embassy in Romania saying that you're afraid and you don't like the situation you're in, that's a very serious allegation and claim. So naturally, people are going to respond straight away. And then the next day, there were raids on the house. But it's really interesting if you keep scrolling. One of the girls says, play the victim. I mean, we are, but act like we still love them and stuff. So again, confirming that they're pretending to be victims to somebody else. Again, we don't know who this is. It could be the embassy, the police, we're not sure, but it is one day before the raid. So it's obviously some kind of authority or official. So the second screenshot, the conversation continues, and one of the girls is saying how she's gonna reach out to Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime to basically tell their fake story about the Tates as they said they would do in the screenshot above. This is very typical of girls. They obviously want to get as much clout as possible. They want to get fame. They want to be on TV. I think that the Tinder Swindler came out around similar time, and now all those girls are extremely famous. That's probably what the purpose of this is. You can see from all the screenshots, they're finding it funny. They're laughing. Yeah, babe, haha, so good. They're loving it. They want the clout and they want the fame. This does not sound like a victim to me. This sounds like two girls who are having a really good time, enjoying all the media attention.
It is entirely possible that these two girls are faking it and lying, but again, from the full context of those transcripts, the impression I got, but that this of they're loving it, no, that's not what I got. I got the impression from it that it's two, I don't know how old they are, late teens or early 20s from the tone of the messages, two like stupid young girls who are pissing about, but who are also, it's got that energy to it of girls when they're like wanting to feel like they're in something together, building, like, which could be that they're in it to like frame someone, or it could be that they're trying to make light out of something that's not very light. Because I've seen people do that. That's not uncommon. So it's just like she's just a stupid fucking bimbo. I'm sorry. Either that's the best possible scenario, or she's a horrendous bitch. And how disgusting to put a blanket statement and say, well, these girls, they clearly just want fame. Obviously the Tates are innocent. Obviously the girls are framing them. And obviously these girls just want to be famous. And these girls just want to be, like, you could say, I believe that this, you know, I don't know. I mean, the full context of what Layah's not showing, the documents, actually doesn't clear the Tates. And it actually adds to the fact, I mean, from what I read of them, I would agree that, yeah, the girls seem pretty fucking stupid and their parents seem pretty worried about them. And if that was my daughter, I'd bloody kill her. But that doesn't, like, if I would just look at that and go, well, that's just fucking stupid young girl. And absolutely, she'd be grounded for the rest of her life if that was my daughter. But that doesn't mean The girls being stupid doesn't mean they're not in a dangerous situation or that they're not victims in some way. Maybe they're not. Maybe you could be right there. Maybe they're malicious and they set it all up. Maybe. But it's also possible that they're victims and that, oh my God, I just cannot. What if, like, she's just being a bitch? Like, I'm sorry, this is just fucking appalling to just say, well, they obviously just want to be famous. How do you know that? How do you know they're motivated? How do you know that? These are two, but they might not be, but they also might be. These are two potential victims, and the way you are talking about them is absolutely disgusting, Layah. It's absolutely disgusting. It's oh my God. It's morally bankrupt. It's just shocking. It's shocking. I'm just appalled, honestly.
So the second screenshot now shows the American woman having a conversation about the situation with her mother. And what I thought was really interesting was the girl told her mum that she's not concerned. She said, Tristan doesn't really care if I leave. That is so important. It's one of the biggest accusations. And actually something that Vice spoke about was that the women were afraid to leave. They took their passports. The women were terrified. Well, again, if this is true, the woman is literally saying, Tristan doesn't care if I leave. I'm not concerned. I don't care. I feel fine. That literally makes the Tates innocent. It literally goes against all of the claims. As you continue to scroll down, it says, I don't think they care much if we leave anyway, which is why I feel okay. She just says she doesn't think the Tates would care if she leaves, which is why she feels fine. Again, doesn't sound like a scared, terrified, real victim to me. So after she says that she feels completely safe and fine if she decides to leave, she's now having this big argument with her mother, and it's actually really unclear what is going on. She wants to go to London. She has this big argument with her mum, but her mum is clearly very mad at her and tells her to go to hell for being arrogant, ignorant, and she doesn't like her BS. So her mum is clearly very upset with her behavior. Perhaps it's to do with the lying that she's told her mum she's going to do. So the mother says to the daughter, if you look at the bottom, the whole American embassy is on alert. Shame on you. So I guess that does confirm that actually she did call the American embassy and she did lie, and the mother is not happy about that. So again, if this is real, this is proof that the claims that were said to the American embassy is all fake.
Actually, if you read the full context of what leaked, her mother is not saying shame on you because of a false claim to the embassy. Her mother's saying shame on you because she's worried about her daughter. From what is understood from those documents, it seems to be that the parents contacted the embassy and that because their daughter didn't, they're worried about her. They're saying shame on you. Why the embassy's on alert and you're not fucking getting out of there. Fucking get out. And if you look, her parents are really worried about her from the rest of the conversation. So like, I mean, you can still like, you could still give an interpretation of, well, I don't think this is necessarily that serious, or I still think the girls are like framing them or whatever. But at least present all the evidence if you're gonna do that, Layah.
So just to wrap up, if these documents and the screenshots are real, the conversations between the girls and the mother, then it means the Tates are entirely innocent because the entire case is based off of this. The Tates held women against their will back in April last year. So, however, at the end of the day, we don't know where they came from. We don't know how accurate they are. But to me, they look real, to be brutally honest. How do I know? I'm not an investigator, but they look like real conversations to me. So moving forward, I think these documents should probably be admitted to a judge or the judge that's in charge of this case so that they can decide whether they're real or not and then let the Tates go because there's no evidence.
Wow, well, I hope the judge heard that. Let the Tates go. Layah says they're innocent. Brilliant. And there's no evidence, apparently, that she magically knows this.
Also, what is really interesting is I found this on Spy News. They're a random Romanian news outlet. Only Spy News are covering this, which is really interesting to me because whenever something's released which is negative about the Tates, the BBC, Vice, CNN are always the first to talk about it. But now there's something which is positive and could actually prove the Tates to be innocent. That comes out and just only one little Romanian news outlet is covering it. Funny how that works.
And it's also funny, Layah, how selectively you report on bloody evidence and completely misrepresent it. Rewatching back her original video, especially knowing the full context of the documents, like, it's just shocking how bad she is. She just sits there with a massive smile on her face. Like, this is all just like
funny or like fun. She's just, oh my God, she's so fake. I'm sorry. Like, I can't stand her. I just cannot stand this. Just absolute, just terrible, irresponsible, sitting there grinning and just talking in absolutes like, well, then they're clearly innocent. This is clearly set up. The girls are clearly saying this. They're talking about an Oscar and they're clearly faking it and they're clearly this. She's so irresponsible and talking and just like she has any idea what's going on. It's just oh my God, I cannot. It's so bad. It's so bad. This is appalling. How has she been taken seriously? How is she not a complete and total joke in terms, like, it's shockingly irresponsible, shockingly lazy, bad, malicious. It's bordering on malicious in just how terribly she's reporting on this. Either this is insane stupidity or she's a terrible person. And I don't know what, like, it's just appalling, Layah. This is appalling.
Has Layah done an update to that video with the full context? No, she hasn't. Maybe by the time I upload this, she will have done, but as it stands now, oh, she's silent on that. Because, you know, she's unbiased and honest, presenting small bits. She has the fucking audacity to get furious at people who wrongly getting mad and condemning Tate, and then she presents a snippet of a bit of evidence that's not the full context, out of context. Oh, isn't this what you got annoyed at people doing to Andrew? Isn't that what you were annoyed about, Layah? People taking Tate out of context and accusing him of stuff based on little snippets and, oh, this is the full context of this. And you've done that. You've done that with two potential victims. Maybe they are lying in its frame, but the point is how you've presented it and how dishonest you're being. What if it's true? What if it's true and those girls were unwillingly trafficked? How dare you? How dare you? And then you're putting that out with a tiny little snippet. And no updates, no, oh, hang on, wait, there's more to this. No. It's disgusting. And even if, by the way, whether this evidence is true or not is kind of to the aside. The point is that she's presenting selective pieces. She's being totally dishonest and lying and scummy. This is scummy behavior. This is disgusting. Consistently again and again and again. You dishonest liar, Layah. Talk about the full context of that. You can even say, oh, I don't know if I believe this, I don't know, whatever. But you've just presented this and gone, oh, the girls were lying. And then actually the full context of that conversation's come out, the transcript or whatever it happens to be, the context has come out, where actually it's like, oh, hang on, this puts a completely different spin on this and actually supports the fact that the girls were victims, and she's silent. Because it serves her. She's self-serving and selfish. She didn't do an update on the full context. No, she didn't. She just speaks with, like, they're obviously framed, they're lying about him, Tates were framed, fake victims. At the very least, the very nicest thing I can say about her is that she is poorly researched, lazy, and is absolutely failing in her duty in every way it is possible to fail.
So I hope that these screenshots will be admitted to a judge so a judge can look at them, make his own decision, and hopefully let the Tates go.
Very useful, aren't you, Layah? And you wonder why he was charming and polite to you. It's probably the cheapest business deal he's ever made. All he had to do was buy you a pizza. See, the thing as well, like, I want to say, and I've said this in the past, like, I wouldn't be surprised with everything going on with Tate. Like, people saying it's either one or the other. Either he's totally innocent and he's all been framed and set up, or, like, everything's completely true and blah, blah. Like, I actually think I wouldn't be surprised if part of it was a conspiracy and a setup and, like, that they're like, this guy, we need to take him out or down or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised, but that doesn't mean that he's not guilty of, like, because it seems to be, oh, wait, hang on, no, this is consistent with his character, everything he talked about, and there seems to be mounting evidence to support that. So it's like, I think it's a mixture of both. I wouldn't be surprised if part of the accusations were lies and a setup. But all of it? No, I don't believe that. It's impossible for me to believe that given everything he said.
But in this documentary, we've been very closely watched by the sartorial shooter, Alpha Wolf, picking who we can speak to, you know, monitoring the interview. What is it that you're worried that we're going to find out?
These questions are so low.
This is low. It's low. We let you in. We tried to take care of you, and you're sitting here and just attacking us for 3 hours, bro.
The world is asking these questions, and the viewers will be asking these questions.
It's the consistent leading questions, the consistent narrative. Where's the question about the good he's doing for men? Well, there's a very clear narrative. I need to leave. Okay.
In the days afterwards, Tate is banned from YouTube, TikTok.
But Sartori Shooter is completely right. Where were the questions about the good that he's doing for men? We literally just watched a group of men talking about how Andrew has just helped them become better fathers, better husbands, better protectors. Where are the questions about that? Silence.
No. You only get to comment on how unbiased and unfair other journalists are if you watch that video of Andrew Tate talking about the things he did. Because that's something you're silent on. Fucking crickets from Tate fans on that one.
My overall take is it was clearly very contrived, clearly a hit piece, clearly very biased. I saw a lot of really amazing opportunities for them to talk about the good that Andrew's doing, and that was totally disregarded. And I think it's funny how this only comes out now after Andrew's been arrested. I would have preferred a more balanced documentary.
People know what I'm talking about. It's a video that Abraham Preach did a great video on it. Went through some of it in my last video on Pearl. The one where Andrew Tate himself, on a course that he sold to men, is talking about like what he did, how he convinced girls into working cam girl business for him. It's very damning. How he stole from them, tax of it, like just so much stuff that it's like, wow, this guy seems to be a criminal by his own admission, by his own words, and he's selling a course on teaching other people how to do that.
During this same period, the Tate brothers were recruiting women for a webcam business and creating the first of their many online courses teaching other men how to do the same.
I am her everything. It doesn't matter if I fuck someone else because I'm her everything. She has nowhere else to go.
It was called the Tate PhD, or Pimping Hose degree.
Claims of sex trafficking don't start to look that far-fetched with that video in mind. So you react to that video, Layah, you talk about that video, and then you can talk about other people being unbiased because you've been fucking silent on that.
In May 2021, Tate made reference to his arrest in an appearance on the Fresh and Fit podcast.
I was like, who are you? And they're like, you're under arrest for a suspicion of assault of this dumb hoe. And I'm like,
wait, this is dumb hoe?
They didn't, but I'm going to protect her anonymity because I'm a nice guy. Dumb hoe.
This is the problem. This is where Tate kind of messed up, in my opinion. He spoke too much. He talks way too much. He uses a lot of hyperbole, and I think he just got himself in trouble. You know, he used a lot of hyperbole to go viral. There was all these clips from Fresh and Fit, which is, I don't know, in hindsight, I wonder if he regrets it. It clearly didn't help the situation that he's in.
Again, what is that video hyperbole? The video where he's talking calmly and he's selling and he's talking through what he did. See, this is the problem. Oh, this is where Tate messed up. Yeah, it wasn't anything he did or like anything criminal. No, he just talks too much.
Boys who look up to him, especially those that may be vulnerable and they're sort of going to go into the real world carrying those.
What is wrong with looking up to Andrew Tate? Tell me, like, I don't understand what's wrong with that. And there's silence when it comes to people like Nicki Minaj and Cardi B. Everybody's happy for young girls to look up to those characters. Didn't Cardi B admit publicly to robbing men? And yet everybody's silent about that.
I cannot believe how much of a hypocrite this girl is. So Cardi B, and I agree, I think Cardi B sucks. I think she's shit. I think it's terrible the stuff she's admitted to. I've said that like several times in the past. Like, Layah is such a hypocrite. Why are you gonna take Cardi B at her word when she talks about the stuff she did, but you don't take Andrew Tate at his word when he talks about the stuff that he did? Alleged crimes that, you know, he talked about doing with taxes and what he talked about doing to women. So with Tate, it's hyperbole. But with Cardi B, oh, that's a real crime she's admitted to. You are like, you are the worst. I cannot stand this. You have such inconsistent standards. Why is that? Is it because Cardi B is female or because she's on the wrong political side? Or because she's not personally aiding your career in the way that Tate seems to have done from you massively supporting him and your career like skyrocketing. You are so dishonest and disgusting, Layah. Honestly, I think out of everyone I've like had internet criticisms of, I truly think Layah is the worst. I think she's actually the worst. She's the worst. Also, in addition, didn't bloody Andrew or Tristan or one of the bloody idiot brothers also admit to robbing men of all their savings via scamming? Didn't that happen? Did I imagine that? Did I hallucinate that? Didn't that happen? Maybe, Layah? I don't know. In a far worse way than Cardi B ever robbed anyone. So, Jesus.
Also, I've just realised that when I gave my earlier criticisms of saying that I wasn't sure if Layah did this misdirection thing of pointing to other bad things to say, oh, let's let Tate off the hook because there are other bad things in the world. Oh no, all the criticisms I gave earlier of other Tate fans where I went off and like, we can apply that to Layah now because she does do that too. So...
Really important to remember that innocent until proven guilty. We really don't know anything right now. All we know is what people are saying and what people are claiming. So it's really important to remember innocent until proven guilty.
Maybe they won't have enough to charge him on, but how am I supposed to believe he's innocent? Again, based on that video. How about what Tate's saying? You're saying we only know what people are saying. How about what Andrew Tate's saying? Why haven't you said anything about that, Layah? Why are you quiet on that? Convince me. Here we go. React to that. React to that video of Andrew Tate. The one that was going around, Andrew Tate talking about all the things he did. React to that. It's easy. Come on. It's easy. Oh, do it. You're used to shit, lazy, poorly researched content, so it's not hard for you. Just get it up on your screen, lass. Come on. Get it up, pout and react like you normally do. It won't take time. It's not like you put any effort into your videos, so you can bang it out in a couple of hours. I'll walk you through it.
In fact, I'll bring one of the girls who works for me. Your bottom bitch, the new girl, you go out for fucking a nice dinner. Your bottom bitch is the one who does the selling. You don't do the selling. The girl...
Wow, you guys. So this is insane to me that people are using this and saying that he did what he's saying he did.
Tax is also another important element for controlling your woman. You're not going to pay anybody tax because you're getting paid in Bitcoin. So you don't need to pay tax to anybody. Tell your girl that you're paying the tax. Because girls are lazy, and girls are stupid, and girls don't understand how taxes work. So the girl's working with you, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we've made this much money, but I'm going to pay the tax to make sure we don't get in trouble. She'll sit there and go, okay. Now that allows you to do two things. One, it's another control element.
People just really need to think critically about this and think about, like, they're framing him. They're obviously trying to set him up. I know Andrew said that that's what he did, but people need to understand, like, jokes and hyperbole. And I know this isn't a course where he's scamming people because he's selling that as what he did, but, you know, having my knowledge of the situation and having met him and the fact he bought me a pizza, I just think this is really not true. And I think that this is crazy to me that people think that this means that he's like not a nice person. Oh my God.
So I used to pay my girls 30%. So for every $10,000 they made, I'd give them 3 and I'd keep 7. They thought they were on 50%. And I said that the disparity is because of taxes. So you're on 50%, we get to pay the tax first, and then it's 50-50. So really you're paying 30, you tell them you're paying 50, the difference is in the tax. That's where the disparity lies, taxes. If they don't believe you, they want to get fresh or whatever, print out some tax forms. I see this all the time. I used to print out some random tax forms and say, yeah, sign here and sign this. What is it? It's for the tax. You want to pay the tax or not? Ooh, okay. And they just sign away. They don't know what they're fucking signing. Let's throw them away afterwards. But they think something's happening. Something real is happening. Nothing's happening except me get rich, bitch.
Do you see how masculinity is under attack now? All you have to do is be a strong man and do literally nothing else wrong, and literally nothing that you've ever done wrong, ever. No, literally, that's the only thing. Is literally all he's done is be a strong, masculine man. And that's what people really need, and it inspires them. And that's the only reason why he's in trouble. And this is just, I mean, they're calling this evidence? Oh my God. I'm sick of this. If you are still defending, this goes for more people than just Layah. If you are still defending Andrew Tate and yet you have been silent on that video of him snitching on himself, then I have such huge disdain for you. If you are defending him and going on about how it's the Matrix and not his own doing, yet you've not said a word about that, then I am left with no choice but to conclude that either you are a liar or you are a coward, and probably you are both. Convince me. Seriously. And this is genuine. People are still defending Andrew Tate and haven't talked about that video or Layah. Convince me that he's a good guy. He's a good guy and it's all just bollocks and made up and it's all the Matrix. Seriously, convince me. Do it. I'm reasonable. I am reasonable. I'm open to a convincing argument. So tell me why I'm wrong. That's all I'm asking. Do it. You've not given me do it. Explain to me how this has all been a setup and debunk that video of him snitching on himself. Tell me why that's wrong and why I shouldn't listen to everything he's saying about what he did. Tell me why I'm wrong and why he's a good man, really. Explain to me how he has been set up. But if you're proclaiming his innocence yet are silent on that video, I have disgust for you. You're a coward and I think you're intentionally dishonest because otherwise what's the problem? Talk about that video. Talk about it. I'm open to being convinced. But what am I supposed to think when he's admitted multiple times to his behaviours and all of his fans are utterly silent on that video? They're all happy to ignore it or offer a totally feeble and inadequate defence. So what am I supposed to think? I wouldn't even necessarily disagree with you on the setup part, but on like there been a conspiracy and people going, right, let's had enough of him, let's take him down. But his innocence though. Like why should I not believe that? Why should I not believe that he's done, whether it's a conspiracy, whether people wanted to take him out or not? That doesn't mean that he's innocent. And there's nothing to suggest that, really. Here we go. Here's to sweeten the deal. Here we go, sweeten the deal. If you're convincing enough, I will make a video in his defense. I've defended him in the past. I'm open to defending him in the future. I promise you, if you can make me believe that this is all a setup and he's innocent of all wrongdoing and is a good man, I promise I will speak in his defence if you can do that. I'm just asking you to convince me. If you want me to defend someone who's admitted to what he has admitted to, tell me why he doesn't deserve to be punished, irregardless of the potential motivations behind punishing him. And maybe they won't have enough to charge him. Who knows? Maybe they won't have enough to charge him. But from everything he said, like, I'm still not convinced that he's not self-serving, poisonous criminal scum. So convince me that he's not. Talk about that video. Why? Why won't you do it? So convince me he's a victim of injustice. That's all I ask. Tell me what I'm so stupidly overlooking. But don't you fucking dare do it without talking about that video, because that's an insult to my intelligence. You're asking for blind faith in a man who's done nothing but demonstrate the opposite, and it shows slimy cowardice on your part. What's the problem? If you really care, and this goes for Layah, but other people as well, if you really care, genuinely care about defending your friend Andrew, and he's an innocent man, then why wouldn't you offer a defence of that video if you have one? It would be immoral of you to not speak in his defence and debunk that video if you're capable of doing so. So why aren't you doing it? And you're all shouting about how, oh, he's innocent. So why has no one done it? At least that I've seen that's convincing. Either you are lying to us or you are betraying your friend by not properly defending him. So either way, you are fucking spineless, faithless coward and unworthy of trust or been taken seriously. Also, I just want to add that even if he hasn't done what he said he's doing, he's still supposedly selling that to other men. So either if he hasn't done what he said he's doing, then surely he's still scamming people by teaching them something and telling them something that he is lying about doing. And also he's contributing to people doing that and behaving in that way. So if that's the case, he's also a terrible, lying, scamming criminal, no? Isn't he? In either case? I don't see how this turns out that he's a good guy and has everyone's best interest at heart. I'm sorry, no matter which way I spin this in my mind, I can't make the sums add up. So I do, oh my God, no, but I'm just an irrational, crazy woman. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, this is why, like, the whole red pill thing of, like, that men are just always rational. Like, it's people. Neither men nor women are more rational. People are irrational. Human beings are irrational. It's just not true that, like, that men are just, like, these paragons of fucking logic and, like, it's just total bollock. I'm sorry. Human beings are irrational creatures. I'm not even claiming that I'm the most rational person in the world, but, like, oh my God, just to see, like, how fucking irrational and crazy people are behaving. And what's funny is these are so many of them are red pillers, which are the same people saying, like, who are just so fucking, like, sneering about women and women's intelligence, and it's embarrassing, like, just, like, how you're doing, making the sums add up of how do you square that he is just a good it's just, you're insane. You're insane. If he was a leftist, so many of you would be condemning him. You'd be condemning his course, condemning his business, calling him a scammer who takes advantage of men. You'd be calling him a creep. Oh, another male feminist revealed to be a perverted weirdo exploiting women. You know one of the ways the left massively discredited themselves and shot themselves in the foot? One of the ways feminism became a joke? One of the things that led to people turning away from the movement? Corruption. The left refused to disavow and call out the bullshit and moral rot on their own side. They were willing to allow and cover for corruption so long as it brought them power. They proved themselves hypocrites and that they didn't actually believe in their values. That it was a front to gain influence. They allowed liars and con artists and scammers and predators to run rampant and take over the movement, and you guys are now doing the same thing. And this is how you will be the cause of your own downfall, the cause of people turning away, of you destroying your own credibility and integrity, and people believing you frauds and hypocrites and liars. Because you don't actually have the moral standards you claimed, it seems. Not as long as it can benefit you. Ideology wins over truth again. I'm so tired of this. This whole Tate fallout, I've lost respect for so many people. I'm so disgusted by so many people, and I'm just so tired of being disgusted. Just the lack of just the dishonesty and the lack of integrity or courage or anything. I don't understand why some people seem to imagine that a woman has less of a right to autonomy and responsibility and moral convictions. Those are mine, and they belong to me, and they are just as important in making a woman a person as they are in making a man a person, and at the end of my life, I would like to look back and take ownership of everything I did. And say, yes, here are my triumphs, and yes, here are my darkest shames, but at the very least I can stand by those shames and say, I did this, I can own this. I can justify how I got here because these are my mistakes and not someone else's mistakes that I must now answer for because I was unwilling to make my own choices. I want to be unable to blame or resent anyone else for my own failings. I don't want to be bitter because it was out of my hands. I want to become wise because it was in my hands and sometimes I did the wrong thing with it. I want to learn my own lessons from my own fuck-ups. And I also don't want to be robbed of the opportunity to stand by my triumphs. These triumphs are mine too, because of what I did. And every road I walked down, good or bad, I walked down because I decided to. Doesn't mean I don't make decisions with the people around me, or that I don't compromise or change my mind or put others first when appropriate. Of course, you should do all those things. But it does mean I do not walk blindly and unquestioningly down the path of life, because in that case, what the bloody hell is the point in even walking it? Why am I here? And I know red pillars will say, that's not what submission is. Well, really? Because from where I'm standing, it sodding well looks like that's exactly what some of you are asking for.
I'm very close with my brother, and my brother has proven to me on so many occasions that he is correct when we debate something. So my brother has proven himself to be the man, in my opinion. And so when my brother Gideon says, Layah, we're doing this, I'm like, okay. Because I've seen, I've shit tested him. I know that he's right. Honestly, if my brother says, Layah, change your shoes, I'll change them. I did the other day, I went to do a podcast with Iman Gaji, and Gideon was like, Layah, don't wear those shoes, wear those. I was like, okay. My brother told me to stop doing wings on my eyes, the makeup. I go, okay. Because I trust his opinion. I comply with everything my brother says. So somebody said to me, Layah, here, take a drink, take a shot. And I was like, whatever he thinks. This girl, she comes over, she goes, no, you're a strong, independent woman. You don't need a man to tell you whether you can drink or not. And I was like, no, if you think I should have another drink, I'll have another drink. If you don't think I should, then I won't. So I was just like, I'm not playing these games. The natural way is for a woman to be submissive, but to the right man. I'm not being submissive to any random man out there. Hell no. It needs to be the right man. You are the man, women will comply. Oh yeah. That is 100% it. And that's what I want in my marriage anyway. I'm not looking to put up a fight. I'm not looking to be competitive. I don't want any of that. Honey, if you're the man, that's it. Whatever you say goes. And I think most women will.
Layah, for someone who has spoken in the past about how frustrating you find it that femininity is presented as weak, I've heard you say that, and how unfair you find it that traditional women are looked down on, I feel compelled to point out to you that you are doing nothing to change that image, and if anything, are pushing things in the opposite direction. You're presenting being a woman as pampered and indulged. I just want to relax, men do all the work. Airheaded, attention-seeking, and moronic. What should I wear? A man's word always overrules mine. What are thoughts? And cowardly, self-serving, and unwilling to take accountability. Something is happening that I personally find unethical and I think hurts people, but it's none of my business, so okay. I am deeply, deeply unimpressed. In case it's not clear, this is not what being an adult is, and this is not what being a woman is. This is what being an immature girl is. I've heard men talk about how being a true man is stepping up and taking accountability and putting others before yourself. Yeah, and I'd extend elements of that also to being a woman. That also involves sacrificing your own needs sometimes and working for others. And no, not in a shallow way of, I'll do what I'm told because femininity is submission, but I won't stand by my morals. I mean, in a very real way of there is something more important here than my own needs. How do I live my life in service of something else? What does actual femininity mean? What is the point of it? What is the power of it, beyond just standing there and looking pretty and doing what you're told? There are lots of discussions to be had on what femininity is, and a number of different answers, and I'm very interested in diving into it and deepening my understanding of what femininity is and what it means to be a woman, and I plan to do more of that in the future. But I can tell you what it isn't. What femininity isn't, Layah, is whatever you think will most impress Andrew Tate. It's not what he thinks it is or he says it is. Because I will tell you what he understands about the true nature of femininity. Nothing. I'll tell you what he understands about women. Nothing. I'll tell you what he knows about what it is to be a woman. Absolutely, completely, and utterly nothing. I've heard him talk about what he thinks all those things mean and what being a woman is, and it bears no resemblance to what I've experienced and felt and understood about being a girl and then a woman. His is the shallow understanding of a destructive 12-year-old boy. I think he enjoys tearing wings off butterflies, but do we think the boy that tortures butterflies could tell you anything about their true nature or life cycle or experience of the world? No. That boy would probably say they're pretty and weak and useful for entertaining me and easily destroyed. What Tate is familiar with are vulnerable, desperate girls. That's it. I'm sorry, but from what I can see, Layah has based everything off what she thinks will appeal to a man like Andrew Tate. Like the girl at school who plays dumb to get the attention of the rugby captain. Or football captain, or whatever, insert sport here. Which is fine as a short-term strategy to get the attention of a very particular type of man, but it's utterly useless as a template for femininity. This is designed to appeal to a man like Andrew Tate because he demands total submission from his girlfriends. He doesn't put up with arguments, disagreements, refusals or challenges, as he has said many times. Yeah, you know, because he's a man. And a sure sign of a secure man is one who can't deal with any perceived threat to his authority. Kind of like how Joffrey copes with things. It's a very mature and impressive way of conducting yourself in a relationship.
I am the king! I will punish you.
Any man who must say, I am the king, is no true king.
Look, there's nothing wrong with having clear boundaries and not allowing anyone to disrespect you, but I'll tell you the problem with this mainstream red pill mentality that men should have total authority, and a sign of a good woman is to follow his lead without question. Well, firstly, it's incredibly fragile on his part. If that was me, I would feel like I was humouring a little boy who couldn't deal with criticism. But the problem with underestimating and undervaluing the feminine perspective is not only a problem for women. It's also a very foolish thing to do as a man to regulate the female position to little more than a glorified maid. In my experience, something I've observed from the people around me is that, amongst other things, something women seem to be very good at is foreseeing danger, or at spotting things that men tend to overlook. Now, this is a dirty word in the red pill, I know, but sometimes it will come from a feeling, yes, that she might have, or an instinct, or from a woman observing the world around her. I think this is probably partly because women have to be more hyper-aware of threats because we are more vulnerable in the world. I know that about myself. I'm incredibly sensitive all the time to danger or anything that feels untrustworthy. Probably too much in my case, but here's a question for the class. Where is Andrew Tate right now? Oh, that's right. Rotting in jail, facing potential criminal charges with a greatly damaged reputation. Do you know what women are good at doing? Saying things like, I feel like you should rein it in a bit. Don't stretch too far because I can foresee a hard fall. I know you feel invincible, but you are not a god. No, don't tell me not to worry. With this, I want you to listen to me and tread cautiously. Yes, Andrew, you're a man and no one can defeat you or tell you what to do, and I'm a silly woman who doesn't know what she's talking about. Yes, I know, very impressive. But are you sure publicly taunting the Romanian authorities again and again and again is a good idea? You've achieved international success, but don't let your arrogance run away with you. How about you don't brag about how you take advantage of a corrupt system? How about you don't put yourself in the position that if you are ever arrested or investigated, you make it very difficult for the Romanian authorities to let you walk free without making themselves look corrupt, incompetent, or foolish? Oh, how about we don't sell a course on tax evasion and potential sex trafficking? Maybe we should keep that quiet, love, yeah? This might come back to bite you at some point in the future. Now, I'm not saying that you should always listen to a woman, But at the very least, it's worth noticing what she's drawing your attention to, leaving your arrogance to the side for a moment, and considering whether there's any truth in what she's seen. I would say that the stronger she feels about something, the more foolish it is to dismiss it outright. But if you are so arrogant, then in order to feel masculine, you have to tell yourself that there is very little value a woman can offer when it comes to making decisions, or indeed to anything outside of sex and cleaning. If you believe you always know best and will not suffer the humiliation of being questioned by a female, and can't allow yourself to give way even an inch because it makes you feel weak, well, you're crippling yourself. No man is invincible, and sometimes being reminded of that is very important, and that does not necessarily mean that you're being disrespected. Sometimes it means you're being watched out for. I've said this in a video before, but my grandfather was a very, very, very tough man who went through great hardship in his life. He had a brutal job. He was mentally strong, brilliant at making decisions, never allowed himself to be disrespected, saw a lot of death. He was tough. And yet when my grandma became lost to dementia, he said, "I feel blind without her." Because he was wise enough to recognise that while he was the authority in certain areas and was very good at leading people, there were areas where she knew more than he, where she saw what he didn't see, knew what he didn't know, and where actually, in those cases, if he had demanded submission and not followed her guidance, it may have led to ruin.
Women will shit test men. So that means a woman will give you a difficult time as a man just to see if you can really step up to the plate, if you can really protect her at all costs, right? It's what women will do because they need to know that when the war comes, when the apocalypse comes, like, will you really be able to protect me? If you are the man, women will comply.
Oh, yeah.
That is 100% it. And like, that's what I want in my marriage anyway. Like, I'm not looking to put up a fight. I'm not looking to be competitive. I don't want any of that. Honey, if you're the man, like, that's it. Whatever you say goes. And I think most women will.
No man, no matter how clever or competent or successful or strong, is infallible, Layah. That's what being a human is. Giving into all of his suggestions with no thought and an okay is not a sign of respect. It's a sign of laziness and not doing your bit in helping to carry the burden of life. And the kind of man who would want that is also probably the sort of man, I would guess, likely to shoot himself in the foot with his own arrogance. And if you're following with nothing more than an okay, that's how you get led right off a cliff and not notice until you're falling over the edge. And if that happens, I honestly don't think you have a right to blame him for that or get mad if you've not been paying attention. Even from a traditional perspective, let's go with that. Let's go with the traditional perspective that it's a woman's job to aid a man. Let's go full on there. Okay. In that case, it is your job to pay attention, to notice what he is not seeing, to not see him as perfect, but to know what his flaws are, where he's likely to stumble. It is your job then to question him, to throw up other perspectives, to make sure he's on track. That doesn't mean be disrespectful, that's not what I'm saying. Red pills are fucking childish. They get that mixed up. They think someone questioning them or disagreeing or presenting valuable counterpoints is the same as like a woman bitching at him and screaming at him and being disrespectful. Like, your children, grow up. I'm not saying throw tantrums or get angry or have everything your way. I'm saying act like an adult with a brain. That's the true meaning of support. Not to insult men by making this comparison, but if you're supporting your child, do you give in to everything they want? No, because everyone recognises that would be unhelpful. Okay, how about a better comparison? Less insulting, better comparison. You're the manager to a social media star. Is it useful to your client to offer criticism and caution, as well as praise and support? Yes, it is. It's very useful. But then I'm not a traditional woman, and I don't plan to be particularly, so what do I know? This is my problem with the red pill. They don't respect femininity, and nor do they understand it, and nor do they recognise the actual value of women, because again, they do not respect it. If you ask most of them what they want in a woman, most of them will list youth, beauty, submission, and a love of cooking and cleaning. Which is fine, but it's also the most shallow understanding of femininity, and rather than lifting up traditional women, it totally devalues them and regulates them to little more than maids. That is not, and never has been, the essence of what a woman is. I know that's what Andrew Tate wants. The reason he wants that is because he's not looking for girlfriends, he's looking for employees. Seems pretty obvious, no? And no, he does not understand nor value femininity. He values it only insofar as it can benefit him. And that thus all he values in women is beauty and obedience, because those are the things that he can, in his own words, exploit and that make him rich. In terms of the qualities of a life partner or a mother, pretty irrelevant and useless. It would be a foolish woman indeed to try and follow his template for what it means to be a good woman or wife, or how she should interact with a well-adjusted man who isn't currently facing prison time for criminal activity. I don't know. That seems obvious to me. Here's something to think about. And I wish you would think about this, Layah. I wish you would think about this. So, Tate's understanding of femininity is based on the girls he surrounds himself with. As of course it would be, inevitably. Girls who you, Layah, think are mentally damaged and degrading themselves. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but your actual understanding of what being a woman is comes not from Tate then, in actuality. It comes from girls that you yourself have described as mentally damaged. Seems like something weird to base your view femininity on, but okay. These girls have also been vetted by Tate. In his own words, he says he tests girls to see if they'll humble themselves and to, not waste time on those who won't humble themselves, because that's a sign they'll never do what they're told. I'm guessing by that he means probably the ones who say, "Can girl work? I beg your pardon."
She was a fucking hoe, and I spotted it instantly because she didn't humble herself when she was supposed to. And I'm glad I didn't waste any more time on her, because she's never going to be doing like my other girls do, living in my house, letting me fuck other women, remaining loyal, and fucking bringing me coffees and doing as I say.
I think he says humble because he's got such an ego. He's got to make these girls appear unfeminine rather than just secure in themselves. He doesn't like the idea it's possible that a woman could see through him. I imagine it makes him feel powerless. And so, because they don't fit into the doormat caricature of what he wants all women to be, their existence contradicts his worldview that men are always smarter and better and stronger-willed. They contradict this, unless he explains them away as defective. So he is filtering for compliant character traits or already downtrodden girls, and then he goes and speaks to the world about what women are and how you should deal with them and what they want. He's a child who wants dolls to play with. He has no real interest in women. I am not surprised then, Layah, that what you are presenting as femininity feels performative and empty. I've noticed that consistently with Tate, actually. He ignores or dismisses anything that contradicts his worldview. He dishonestly warps reality to fit into how his ego thinks the world should be, trying to reform the world in his own image rather than basing his worldview on what is actually true. And if you think he's not arrogant enough to do that, then you haven't been paying attention. So here's my thing. Even if Tate was released yesterday and proven to be as innocent as the fresh fallen snow, that's actually irrelevant in regards to these criticisms that I've presented in this video, because whether he did it or not, Layah has still behaved so badly, selfishly, stupidly, and irresponsibly. And I think that's very important to say, that regardless of what happens with Andrew Tate, I want this to stand. Layah has behaved terribly. She's been way over the line. Whatever happens with that, her behaviour should still be condemned. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is with some girls who act like this. And I feel like it happens more often with pretty girls. And Layah is very pretty. She's very pretty. I think it might be that sometimes people are so unwilling to properly challenge a pretty girl that they then end up sounding like fucking idiots when they open their mouths and have no idea how stupid they sound because people love listening to them no matter what they say, and they rarely have to step up or defend their ideas. I don't know. I'm also really sick of the wide-eyed, aren't I sweet act when you're covering for someone who, though whether what he did is illegal has yet to be determined, in his own words, to manipulate, emotionally and psychologically abuse and mistreat the girls around him, and you're running cover with no knowledge or evidence to the contrary other than, he once bought me a pizza. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You don't get to play the whole, I care deeply about women and think modern culture and sex work is so damaging and degrading. I want the best for women, aren't I an angel? Yet also be publicly so far up Andrew Tate's arse you'll probably meet Rolo soon. You're just as morally bankrupt as everyone who a few months ago was spreading that Tate was a sex trafficker when they had no evidence and were just going on with groupthink. You are massively at fault here, Layah. You have no idea what sort of behaviours you're blindly defending. Maybe it's nothing, but maybe it is something, and the point is you do not know. And if there is something, you are complicit in that something, no matter how naive and innocent you play it. You have behaved badly, and you have not done your due diligence, because you blew up when you started unquestioningly defending Andrew Tate. So who cares if he's causing harm if your career is excelling and you're getting adoration from all his fans? It's nice to be told by lots of people how pretty you are, how you're a true woman, how sweet and forgiving you are. Yes, I know that's a very nice thing to hear. But not when you're not only ignoring but supporting terrible behaviour in order to hear it. What a small thing to sell your integrity for. Take some fucking responsibility and do your damn job. You're a journalist, not his PR manager. Less eyelash fluttering and more thinking. Can we manage that? Goddamn, have some self-respect. The crawling all over him and simping just sickens me. You guys want me to talk about some of the shadow sides of femininity? Some toxic femininity? Okay, sure. How about faking innocence, incompetence, and ignorance to avoid being held accountable for your own failings? This faux innocence thing of, well, I don't know what's happening, it's just none of my business. Well, I'm sorry, that doesn't wash. Not with something like this. I don't think there's anything kind-hearted, innocent, or sweet in, well, he didn't abuse me, therefore it can't be true. I'm so sweet and ditzy. You don't get to play that when you're also running a poorly researched propaganda campaign in his favour and at the expense of potential victims. Disgusting. Gross, like that recent video you did where you didn't release full context. This behaviour is vile, low and selfish. But what, if you smile sweetly and bat your eyelashes and give an appearance of innocence, that makes it okay? I hate when girls do this. I hate this. This is, I think, my least favourite. My least favourite female behaviour. I say I love women, and there are some male behaviours I dislike. I have least favourite male behaviours as well. This is probably one of my least favourite female behaviours. I hate this. I hate when girls do this. This is an unrelated segue. But I blame I blame fathers for that. It's your fault. It's father's fault. It's your fault. Every girl I know like that has had a father who has spoiled her and who has wrapped around her little finger. Fathers, do not indulge your daughters and let them get away with bad behaviours because they're sweet and cute. You will ruin them. Don't do it. Don't do it. I know it's tempting. Oh, she's so adorable and sweet, my little angel. Do not fucking do it. That's what she wants you to do. It's a trick. Seriously, that is the most important parenting advice I would give to fathers with daughters. If your daughters can manipulate you, they're not going to magically snap out of infantilizing themselves to get what they want with other men. Do not treat your daughters like princesses. It's not true, and it's actually really, really cruel in the long run. I mean, it's also disrespectful. Your daughters are probably more capable than you give them credit for, but they'll never realise that if they don't have to act honestly and decently to get what they want. Or that sometimes they don't get what they want. Like, call her out. That's what I'm saying. Call her out if she's being manipulative and treat her like you expect her to step up and take responsibility for her actions, and chances are she will. And look, I'm not saying that about Layah. I have no idea what her relationship with her father is. I don't know. I'm just saying, in general, that's what I've noticed about girls who do that. It is almost always their father's fault. He was too indulgent and let her get away with too much. Especially if turned on the waterworks. Yeah. Look, I'm not saying don't be a dick either. Like, you can still be a loving father and kind and sympathetic and all those things. Like, there's a balance, though. That's the main thing. Don't let them get away with having behaved badly. If they've behaved badly, don't let them worm out of it by being cute or upset. That's what it is. If they've done something wrong, they've done something wrong. Yeah, anyway. That's my 2 cents on that. The playing dumb thing, it irritates me. When girls do that, I find it annoying, it irritates me, but I just tend to ignore it. But where I absolutely cannot stand it is when women use the playing dumb to hide their bad behaviour, to hide when they've done something wrong, to pretend total innocence and absolve themselves of responsibility. It is one of the worst and most immature teenage girl behaviours. It's so insidious and it just needs to be called out for what it is rather than coddled and indulged. It's cowardly and it's weak and it's unbecoming. Don't pretend, Layah. You've already demonstrated an impressive ability to switch off your compassion and moral compass when it's beneficial to you. You're a cutthroat career woman making tough decisions and sacrificing traditional values to advance yourself. Embrace it.
Yet I think it's degrading to women and I'm against it. However, just because I think it's unethical doesn't mean that it's illegal and somebody should be put in jail for this. What Andrew chooses to do is his business. It's none of my business, each to their own. As well, as far as I know, all the women consent to this. So as long as it's consensual, nothing really here is illegal.
So obviously, you guys, I do think that sex work is unethical. It's unethical, but it's none of my business. What, you guys expected me to stand by my morals or something and criticize behavior that I always thought was unethical? It's none of my business. Yes, I went around talking about all the good stuff he did and actively lying to women and saying there was no bad stuff, even though I knew there was bad stuff all along, and we're just now finding out that I always thought it was unethical, apparently. But conveniently, how this works is that only the good stuff was my business and the bad stuff was none of my business. How can a little woman like me be expected to disagree with a strong man? No one criticize me. I'm so young and sweet and I do what I'm told. This has worked my whole life at getting me out of having to face up to myself. How can I be held morally accountable for my failings when I outsource responsibility for my actions and choices to people around me? Don't you see that the fact I keep my mouth shut and do what I'm told and let people think for me is actually a sign of my morality and not just a sign of cowardice, self-service and deep moral failing disguised as goodness, because it's just none of my business.
It is your business. You very publicly made him your business. You built a successful YouTube channel off making him your business, so you don't get to snake out of it now and not be held accountable for being scummy. It's a bit late for that. But no, it's only her business when running a glowing public PR campaign for him and being intentionally dishonest and leaving things out and lying. That's when it's her business. When she's doing his PR work, then it's her business. Yeah. How nice to be able to wash your hands of all responsibility when it suits you. You are dishonest. This is why I've said in the past, and the more I see, the more I stand by this. I think obedience is a moral failing. Cooperation is different, but obedience can allow you to turn a blind eye or not have to worry or trouble yourself with doing the right thing because you just do what you're told. This is why I have such a problem with this idea that femininity is submission. Not only is it shallow and ridiculous and does not begin to touch on the meaning and essence or true nature of femininity, but it also robs women of their autonomy and personal growth. And ironically, because the red pill always talk about how they want women to be accountable, you idiots, promoting the idea of female submission lets women off the hook from accountability. Layah, I didn't do it. Remember, I bought you a pizza.
Okay.
I don't think a lot of you actually want women to be held accountable. I really don't. I think you want female obedience and them to just agree with you and for her to say sorry when you think she should say sorry and to just do what she's told. That's obedience, not accountability. Accountability is someone not having to be told or only doing it because they're submitting. Genuine accountability is someone who realises and sees off their own back and actually holds themselves to account and realises they were in the wrong because they realised they were in the wrong and not going along with something because they were told to. I also don't want to end up resenting my partner. If he made a decision I was against, but I just went along with it anyway because I should always defer to him, if I did that and his decision ended horribly, with the best will in the world, how could you not resent that? If it was a decision we made together and it went badly, then it's on both of us and we deal. And there are always difficult decisions in life. I'll give you an example. So one of my sisters was very ill as a small child. In and out of hospital, almost died several times. Doctors said it would be a miracle if she lived to puberty, and even if she did, they said she'd have stunted mental and physical growth from all the drugs necessary to just keep her alive. And as for making it through puberty, you can forget that, there's no way. Be grateful for every week you get, because she's only 2 years old and already living on borrowed time. And my dad wanted to go one way and make one decision, and my mum said, no. She said, you are wrong. I feel that you are wrong. Don't ask me how I know, but I just know that you are wrong. I know my child, and we're going to do what I say we do, and you have to let me lead in this. And he said, I trust your instincts. Okay. And she was right, and he was wrong, and if she had just deferred to him because femininity, my sister would be dead, and I doubt my mother could ever have forgiven him for that if she had known what to do and had been overruled because woman. But that didn't happen. And because my mother would have torn the world apart to have found a way to make her better, I did not lose my sister. And now she's in her 20s, and she's healthy and beautiful and vivacious and outrageous, and she's getting married this year. God willing, she has a whole lifetime ahead of her, and you'd never know to look at her that she'd ever had a death sentence hanging over her. My point in telling that story, the reason I bring that up, the point is that there will be terrible decisions in life, and women will have to make some of them. And we're just as likely to know the right answer as a man, and sometimes we also have to step up, because sometimes we will know better than him, and it's not good to train ourselves out of that, to train ourselves out of thinking, because of a bizarre belief that that is the feminine way. Some things are just too important to just wash our hands off because it's tough and we don't want to make tough decisions and we want our husband to always know what to do. Sometimes he won't know what to do. Sometimes he'll just be fucking lost because that's life, and it's a terrible mentality to act like that would make him less of a man because you can't pick up the slack. It's not good to place all of that responsibility on someone else. And not only is it not good, but it's not fair. It's just not fair, Layah. That's not a burden that anyone can carry alone. I've watched my parents take some really difficult decisions together over the years, some really fucking hard ones, and sometimes my mum decides, and sometimes my dad decides. Their rule is that they go with whoever feels strongest if they can't agree or reach a compromise, and it's worked pretty well. Look, I have so much respect and admiration for my father. He is very capable, brave, intelligent, tough. I've seen him deal with massive pressure and remain in control. But like that situation with my sister, how's he supposed to know what to do when he was in his 30s and faced with the prospect of losing a child while also parenting and running a business? It's a rare man who could have stared down the sudden and very real possibility of having your toddler die decades before you and not have felt totally lost, and at that point, not known what to fucking do. Paralysed with fear and making the wrong decision. I imagine that sort of fear was unlike anything he'd experienced before, worse than all the previous dangerous situations he'd been in. And the fact that he was self-made and wealthy and successful and intelligent and respected and influential and trained to fight and take care of himself, all of that was utterly fucking useless. And what did masculinity mean right then? Because yes, he'd have risked his life to defend his family, but you can't fight a disease. And I know when that happened, he was grateful to have a wife with good instincts who knew what to do when he did not, who could step up when suddenly everything he could do that made him a man didn't mean anything. And sometimes it's the other way around, and he knows what to do when she feels lost. He can step up in areas where she can't, and that's how mutual support works. Men do not always know what to do just because they are men, and I think it is unfair to expect that of them. I can't believe I have to explain that basic fact to a girl who is older than me. You are killing me, Layah. Sometimes a woman will know better than a man. It can happen.
He is correct when we debate something. So my brother has proven himself to be the man, in my opinion. And so when my brother Gideon says, Layah, we're doing this, I'm like, okay. Because I've seen, I've shit tested him. I know that he's right. I comply with everything my brother says.
Red pillars like to talk about unrealistic expectations. You guys are fucking unrealistic. She's living in a Disney movie. My dad's not weak or selfish enough to gamble the life of his child on not wanting to seem like less of a man. God's sake, it's just unrealistic LARPing, this stuff from Layah. I'm sorry, that's all I see. It's not applicable to real life. As far as I can tell, here's what I've come to. As far as I can tell, if you want to argue the submission point only for women, as opposed to, well, in a relationship, both people sometimes, but there needs to be mutual submission and both people kind of give in at different points. If you don't want to argue that, if you want to argue that submission point that only women should do that and that men should make most of the decision to be in charge and always lead, okay, fine. But then you have to make the case that men make better decisions. The conversation needs to become about that then. Prove that first. I don't see how you can make the case that women should be the only ones to submit without also arguing that men make better decisions, that women make worse decisions. It's illogical otherwise. So here's what I think. I think that in some areas men will know best, I agree, but in other areas women will know best, no? In any case, even if you believe women should submit, I don't think it's helpful to get out of the habit of thinking for yourself and agreeing unquestioningly. Just agreeing unquestioningly. Oh, well, he just said so, okay. Oh my God, in case, God forbid, your husband asks for your opinion on something. Wouldn't you hope part of the reason a man marries you is for your mind? You might find it useful to have a wife who can think sometimes. From what I hear, traditional guys actually really value that. Or even if he doesn't care about her mind in and of itself because it's soy for a man to care about a woman's intelligence, maybe he likes the idea of having intelligent children? Just a thought. An intelligent mother might be useful if you want smart kids. I don't know, just guessing. Do what you want, Layah. I really don't care. But where my problem is how you've gone around publicly presenting femininity as immature, not thinking, not questioning, submitting, sidestepping responsibility, defaulting to playing dumb when you don't want to deal with something, prioritising adoration and attention above integrity, and not thinking much further beyond yourself. Toxic femininity, in other words.
And like, I think women are more emotional. So like, yes, if you see a video of Andrew saying something which is harsh and naturally exaggerated for marketing purposes, it's going to trigger an emotion in you. And then I think it takes, from my experience, either more time or a man around you to say, hang on, Layah, like, why don't you look at it from this perspective, you know, and you can actually see the logic. And then you're like, oh yeah, okay, actually that makes sense. So I think women naturally are going to not like him because we are emotional.
The natural way is for a woman to be submissive.
Most women lie, right? Like most women have no idea about what they're talking about and they don't understand their own emotions.
If that was just you being you, I wouldn't criticize you so harshly, but you present yourself as the way women should be and behave, and you so strongly criticize other women for how they choose to live and present themselves or express their femininity. And because you do that, you make yourself a role model and a spokeswoman for femininity. There are people who now hold you as that standard of femininity, as the best example of how a woman should behave. You're aware of that, and that's a responsibility. And I, for one, I'm not happy at all with how you have been representing us.
Men go out every day. They sacrifice spending time with their children. They sacrifice living a peaceful, relaxing life so that they can go out and provide for their family, so their wife can stay home and relax. Women, they're resenting men for wanting to provide for the family. It's truly unbelievable, and women are trying to compete with men, and it's so unnecessary.
I've defended femininity from attacks from the left, but I think in a different way, you're doing as much damage to harm its image. I think you are devaluing femininity. I think you are making it cheap and shallow and tawdry and cowardly and infantile and not to be taken seriously. Be how you want to be, but to present that as the true way to be feminine, I'm publicly denouncing this. I'm not suggesting either that I have all the answers in the true way to be feminine or the true way a woman should behave. I value femininity, I admire it, and I think it takes different forms, some aspects coming more naturally to some and other aspects to others. But what I resent is this idea that a good woman doesn't think or question or apparently have much moral conviction. Presenting femininity like that and using it to hide your own failings is absolutely something that I will call out, because you can't use it as an excuse to be weak. That's you, not femininity, and you publicly degrade it when you use it to explain away your flaws, as an excuse to be stupid, or cowardly, or selfish. It's disrespectful. Act an idiot if you like, but don't blame it on the fact you're female. I'm getting Marjorie and Joffrey vibes from Layah and Tate. Tell me I am fucking wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. You can't tell me I'm wrong with that. Except if Marjorie was way less intelligent. Still, using a powerful man to advance your own power, success and influence, and covering for all his sins to protect yourself, ensuring you smile sweetly and maintain your reputation as you sacrifice the vulnerable for cold hard ambition. Hashtag traditional femininity. Well done, Layah. So, that's it. That's the video. There we go. Finally, done. Long, too long, way too long. Didn't expect it to be this long. There we go. I hope that's all the demons I needed to release from my brain. I hope that's it. And then now I can move on to more positive things, touch wood. I would like to make videos that don't make me want to pray for God to send another flood. That would be nice. If I say it, I will speak it into being. This is the end of a cycle. I would like to make videos motivated by inspiration or wonder or joy rather than anger from now on. Maybe not exclusively, but mostly. We'll see. That's if Myron can behave himself and doesn't wound me up at some point in the near future. Anyway, you can join my secret club over on Patreon if you wish. The additional section from the most irrational man in the manosphere video is now up there, where I argue that, yes, it is possible for a woman to have character development in movies. I know, I had to argue that. That's the state of public discourse these days. That whole additional section, that video, the roller video, it does feel like I'm talking to the insane old guy in the old people's home. So it's fun. But anyway, you know, if you want to check that out and support the channel, head on over there for chats and extras. One member of my secret club has already been sentenced to public execution via unicorn, and our anthem is S Club 7's Reach for the Stars. So you could say that we have a lot of fun. Check it out, or don't. Either way, this is goodbye. Thank you for being here. Look after yourself. God knows the truth.